Yeah, what's good? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hold on. If my video's not on, so here it is. Hold on.
Sick. How
Hold
you
on.
doing,
Is it too
bro?
bright? Good, man. How are you? Is it too bright in the background? I can move a little bit.
No, I think it's okay, but you think you can turn it sideways? Yes,
Like
sir.
that.
Cool,
Is that
man.
better?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good, bro. Good, bro. Just getting ready, drinking some coffee. You know what I mean? My
Yeah, I
days
feel you.
start a little bit later in the day. Well, actually, I'm beginning a little earlier, but I get up and kind of get working at around like 9 a.m. or so. So
Yeah,
just trying to like get moving on all that. But how you been?
good, man. So working in terms of what? Like your full-time real estate stuff?
No, I don't do real estate anymore. I don't do that. So I do kendama during the day, and then I wait tables at a couple fine dining restaurants here in Portland at night.
Sick. Okay, so you're talking right now 365 stuff.
Yeah, so in the daytime I do 365 stuff. So I work about like that from like 9 to about 3 o'clock. And then 9 to 5 on my days off. And then I go to the restaurant and work at night 5 nights a week. So kind of like my schedule.
Damn. So you're putting a lot of work into 365.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff. It just takes time, you know. So like we have a lot of projects in the pipeline and things like that. But yeah, every day me and Chris are talking, working stuff out, planning new ideas, and just trying to like figure out what to do. So it's
Yeah,
fun.
that's cool, man. We probably have a lot of similar projects because of Lotus and everything, getting a brand started. I'm sure it's, similar. But what do you like like in terms of like your 6 hours or 7 hours of working, what is I guess for people who don't know what it likes what it's like to start a
Yeah,
new economic company, what are you working on?
totally. Yeah. Well, I mean, every day is different. A lot of it is kind of the same though. So I'm the one who packs all the orders that go out. Right. So
Mm,
like that's my position on the company. Chris does the design and things like that. Um, hold on, let me get this in the right spot. Am I off to the side or am I tripping? Is it good?
you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so usually I'll get up in the morning, make my coffee, and then I'll check out the orders that came in, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll fill those orders here at my house. I kind of have a space to do that. I also have like a storage spot. Like this is my apartment. Like I work from my apartment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I have a storage space as well that we keep our product in. And so like I keep most of the shit there, and then like I bring it here. And I know what I'm releasing. Right? We only release a few condoms at a time, so
Yeah.
um, there's not like a big stock of product in my living room. There's only a
Yeah.
few, but I can kind of show you a bit for if you wanted to see it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
cool,
Yeah.
or it's not. But I see. Turn the camera around here. Switch the camera? Switch camera. Okay. Can you see anything or no?
Black.
Black. All right. Switch camera. Well, like I don't know. I have a hard time using Zoom. I actually don't use it as often, but like here's my Peloton bicycle. You know what I
Nice.
mean? And then like here in the living room, we have like the product that's about to come out later this week. We got some Ken onlys in here. I
Yeah,
can show
okay.
all this stuff, but none of it's exclusive. Cushion,
Yeah.
bamboo, Edwin's, and stuff like that. So like this is kind of like this is my living room actually. So like I have some stuff there. I have like another workspace over here.
Gotcha.
And not just brother just moved from New York actually. My fiance, her brother moved here, so
Oh,
we're a little
really?
bit tight on space in the crib, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's going well.
So your
And
family, okay.
yeah, so um that's so I'll start my day with doing like those orders and stuff like that. Um and then I'll kind of get into my emails after. I like to do my orders like it's the first thing as I do when I wake up. Take into consideration any notes people might have, do our best to like kind of get your weights right. Um then I usually will field emails for like an hour or so. And then I'll talk to June about things that we need to get done and design ideas and figure out like what our next set of releases is going to be, how many of each,
Yeah.
and kind of talk about that. And then we'll talk to team about what needs to be filmed and what doesn't. What are we going to be doing in the next couple months so they're aware of things and touch
Yeah.
base with them. And June will then do so a lot of designing. in that process. So he
Yeah.
like sends it to me to approve and things like that. So he's like the creative head, and then like I'm like, oh, I like this, I don't like that, and then we talk about it. And yeah, that's kind of like a normal kind of work day. We try to get out and film too when we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how about for you? I mean, like what does your day look like most of the time?
Yeah, no, I mean it is kind of like day by day, you know, like what is needs to be done. But I'm sure it's super similar in terms of like I right now I have somebody shipping it out for me. But before this
Yeah.
right here was all full of kendamas, which you can see in earlier interviews. But yeah, after doing the shipping out stuff, then it just comes to like whatever. Yeah, I do most of the designs, or I kind of hire somebody. And then but yeah, I have a full-time job though. I'm a pharmaceutical rep,
Yeah.
so like I
Oh, really?
yeah, like that's usually like 6 hours a day. It's pretty nice, like not a full 8, 9 hours a day. So between that, but like also, I mean, considering that you guys are relatively new, like there is so much work that needed to be done to get things
Yeah.
rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
where with Lotus, like I had a break of jobs, and so for like 2 or 3 months, I just caught up on a bunch of stuff, like working every day, you know, and then once you start
Yeah.
rolling, then like you can kind of do like an hour or 2 hours to get designs and do whatever. And then
Hmm.
obviously as the years and the days like build up, then
Yeah.
yeah. So I imagine that like a lot of it's like setting stuff up. Like once, you know, even just a store, which obviously you guys have already, but just like that takes so much time to get everything
Yeah.
online.
That's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because it's like,
Yeah.
we didn't know to, obviously playing Kendama for 8 years and being sponsored, it's different than like doing it, right? And
Yeah.
so like, me and Chris were like, we're gonna do this, this week. So we had this conversation over a year ago as of now, and um, it was in February of last year. So it's actually been like almost 15 months since we like had the idea of going for it. And like we thought about it in like early February, I think of 2022, right?
Okay.
We didn't release the company until September. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because and it's not because we were like waiting till fall. It was like we just didn't get the stuff done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, the amount of work that you have to put in at first is just crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still like that because we're still growing and we're still doing, like a, a limited amount of things that are coming on our website at
Yeah.
a time. But the amount of work that you have to put into it is just interesting. You figure it out, right? You're like, fuck, you're like, at first you're like, fuck, we need money,
Yeah.
like you're like,
Yeah.
like this isn't cheap, like
Right.
so then we got to figure out where to get money.
Yeah.
And then the website alone to build a website took forever,
Yeah, dude.
like
Yeah.
figuring out that stuff. And we're still working on it. We have Elijah Onishi who does like web design and stuff like that. And it has a degree in cybersecurity. So like he has been like a crucial part of like being able to like make it so like me and Chris can actually like have a place to sell things online,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because like that stuff is just challenging, and so that takes forever. And then you got to figure out, okay, well, like, I want to put players on the team, but I can't put too many players on the team because, I want to be able to like do something for them and stuff like that. And then you have to like work with the manufacturer to make a new shape. And like, if you want
Hmm.
it to be good, it takes like 4 times,
Oh
and then
yeah, dude.
you got to wait like 5 weeks to get a new one. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's just all this time and, and, and it just takes a lot. And then you work on your first release and then there's like little problems, like owning a business. I realize it's just like about solving a bunch of, problems. Some are big, some
Yeah.
are small, but
Yeah.
it's like it's very interesting. And so like you're correct in the sense that it is a lot of work. And like to
Yeah.
do it, me and Chris have regular jobs, so
Yeah.
we do this. This is what makes us happy. It's like what we want to be doing, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, we're like working adults and we have to pay bills and so we work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
I work 40 to 50 hours a week at
Yeah.
another job,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
do this when not when we can because we have a structure with it. Like we have like a formula, and like he works like with his dad in carpentry. So like we kind of like have opposite working schedules, you know what I mean? Like he can get a lot done at night, right? And then like
Mm.
I do a lot during the day and things
Yeah.
like that. So um we have a really good working relationship, and it's allowed us to get things done
Yeah.
as they come in. But I just wanted to like kind of piggyback off that. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And when you start, it's better now. Like now you have a better understanding. But when you're like doing something you've never done before, and you're
Yeah.
trying to like build a website, you're trying to like build a
Yeah.
team, and it it it's a lot of work. But it's what we love to do. So
Yeah.
it's cool. We're down with it. You know what I mean?
For the future, what do you expect 365 to be? I mean, there's obviously a few routes you can go, whether it's like a big company for the new market, like a Sweets or Kusa, or more
Yeah.
specific grain theory, more for the players that are in, the core fans?
Yeah.
Where do you see 365 going?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And it's something that we're trying to figure out. We have a vision and we have goals, right? And at the end of the day, like we we want to grow.
Yeah,
That's the honest answer. If I was to sit here and be like, oh, we want to be small and niche and forever, like I don't think that's the right answer. We
yeah,
want to be bigger than what
yeah,
we are now.
yeah,
I want to have like, all right, at some point, we want in the short term, we want to have like products in stock all the time.
hmm
We want to have multiple options. I want to have a couple different pro players with different pro models out. Um, I think what, in my head, you look at Soul,
yeah,
right? And Soul's like somewhere like they're like big as, they're big as fuck. Like they're
yeah,
big, right? Can
yeah,
I cuss in this or no? Should I
yeah.
not?
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like a big company, right? But like
hmm
Chad is like a player who's still involved and he's not like it's not like a Sweets
His,
thing with like
yeah,
19
yeah,
different employees, and stuff like that. And I'm not saying like for Sweets, like I love Sweets and I love Kusta and I love the fact that they're larger, but
yeah,
um I think Soul's like a good spot, like they got
yeah.
great players, good Kendamas,
They're
they got a
selling.
good owner, they're selling, they're moving product, they're doing really well. And so,
Yeah,
I think that something like Soul in the next couple of years is kind of where we'll be maybe in size, but
yeah,
it's really hard to say. Like, like what I don't want to happen though is me and Chris are still playing Kendama
yeah,
multiple times a week, right? I don't post as much as so like I play more than I post, right? So
yeah,
for me, like filming has always been kind of difficult because it's a little bit frustrating, and like I like to play Kendama to have fun right now because I work so much that like Kendama needs to be an escape for me and it can't be a filming obligation all
yeah,
the time, you know. So me and Chris are playing a lot,
yeah,
and like I don't want that to go away.
yeah,
As we grow and get bigger, I want to make sure that we're still like playing with the shit and like
yeah,
really. I mean, you play too. Like you're
yeah,
good as fuck.
yeah,
Like you're a Konama player, right?
yeah,
And I'm not throwing shade at those that don't play Konama as owners. That's not what I'm trying to do at all.
yeah,
But like I want to be able to make sure that we're still playing at like a professional level as owners, and like me and
yeah,
Chris are doing that. It's one of the reasons why me and Chris did 28 days this year was to like show people like, yeah, we're playing. We're
yeah,
actually like doing that stuff. So we want to add more players to the team. That's kind of also something that we have. We have a couple people in the pipeline that I can't talk about, but a couple people are going to be announced in the next 2 months probably on the team and grow it a
sick.
little bit.
All right,
Yeah, which we're
cool.
super stoked on. And just make good kendamas and kendamas that we think are really solid and just keep getting
Yeah,
feedback. And we're small enough now to where like, people are like sending us messages and they're like, oh, I think you could do this better. And like, we're listening, you know,
yeah, yeah,
like we want to hear about it.
yeah.
So,
It's a really good point about playing, because we actually, the community just saw a few companies stop producing kendamas, Pineapple and Quill, and both those guys I think fell in love with Kendama.
did Quill stop?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Um, and you know, that's my one of my priorities too with Lotus is to never stop playing kendama. Like that's almost my first priority. Like even
Right.
to do stuff. Of course, being I'm privileged to be able to do a full-time job where I have freedom with Lotus. Like it's not like I'm not like making money to eat because that would be a different story, right?
Right.
And hopefully we get there one day. But as of now, like
Yes.
yeah, yeah, like I want to be able to play kendama for as long as I can, and I feel like if I fall in love out of love with kendama, Lotus would be a different thing. It would be
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of escape that would be for me. It's probably very similar to you. Like you need to love kendama and continue to play, and it is a balance as an owner to make sure that you still like you don't get behind. Like you have those.
Right.
The reason you play kendama is because you wanted to progress and to do cool tricks.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I have the same thing.
No, I get you. And I was watching, some of your clips yesterday and I was just like this dude's out here, like,
Yeah,
really, really like playing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's cool to see. And I think like in the next couple years, I think the companies that come up out of, like I think there's more of like a potential in this kendama landscape for like people to do what me and Chris are doing.
yeah,
Like make it a little bit more like people say player owned, and that it's a little bit overused,
Yeah,
but I think that it can be that thing of like, yo, if you love this and you love to play with it, you can own your own brand. It's hard, it's a lot of
yeah,
work, and it's not easy, but you can do it. And I think that in the next couple of years, I think we'll see more of that from players that are, like larger pro names or whatever you want to call it, like
yeah,
maybe transition into something like that.
yeah,
And there's a slice of the pie for everybody out there, you know?
yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm thinking of like company owners that don't play, and like I think Kusa's Jero is kind of unique, but what Jero does is that he basically has whoever is playing like Mags run a bunch of shit, you know? And
Yeah.
so that way, whatever players or whoever's on the team that's like currently playing, you can be on top of it because if you're an owner and you're not playing and you kind of fall behind, like not only the tricks, but just the
Yeah.
community, it's just so hard to like it would be hard to I feel like you can feel that in your company and what you're selling and what you're
Right.
pushing, you know?
Right. And no,
And
I
I mean, look at
agree.
Soul with Chad, right? Chad's playing all the time.
Yeah, he's out there playing. He's at every fucking event.
Yeah.
Like he's totally out there. And Jero, and I love Jero. I got more
Yeah, I
respect for
guess you
Jero
know
than
Jero.
like,
I've never
yeah,
even met Jero. You know him way better
yeah.
because he
I
does.
I
Yeah,
I I know Jero personally. As much as I know Jero, as much as someone who doesn't play for Kusa can know Jero. I feel like that's true,
yeah, that's
right?
cool. Yeah,
And I've been in the warehouse before and stuff like that, and like that dude is very interesting because he does not play Kendama. He
right.
never really has. He loves it, right? But like he's not a player, right?
No, yeah,
And the dude has always surrounded himself at some point with people that are fucking inspired, and he's smart
yeah,
about that. At first it was Colin Sander doing a lot of work for him, and then it was Jake Weens, and then
yeah,
we transitioned into like kind of Brian Skagline and TJ,
yeah,
and then we transferred over and kind of into Max's era, right? You know
yeah,
what I mean? And these are all people that are super inspiring, and
yeah,
like know what they're doing. And like Jero is interesting because like with sweets and stuff, like I'm talking about big companies and like Talkhill and Crom and stuff. Like these are like players that were like playing and they kind of started organically, like we did at some
yeah,
point, and they were like they
yeah.
still love it. They still sesh, right? But Jero's not like that,
No, yeah,
but he has so much love for it, and he's the smartest Kendama owner, I think.
yeah,
And I don't not throwing shade at anyone else, but the dude knows what the fuck he's doing. He always really
yeah,
has. And he knows how to run a business.
yeah,
He's a professional, and he knows what he's doing. And he's always had people that have always had his back. And if you talk to the folks that have played with him and been on the company and worked for him over the years, like they have nothing but good things to say about him.
yeah.
And right now, like Mags is doing the most for that brand. It's not just about like, oh, he's making the edits. He's like pushing the culture,
Oh, totally.
and like we're seeing a resurgence with Kusa in the past, I feel like 6 months, right? Where,
Yeah,
it's like you picked up these like young bucks, that are just
yeah,
ripping tricks, and like
yeah,
people like Marquise that are already established, and they're just like they got this energy right now, and
yeah.
they got Jay Dama, the Slinger King, right now, and just like they're just pushing,
I
and then
know.
they're
Yeah,
like they have like more of this energy, and it's cool to see because Kusa was my favorite brand as a player, and like now it's cool to see them like get some energy back into it. I mean, I don't know if you can agree with it or see it, but I feel like they have something going on right now, and it's cool to see.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with the change that they had. I mean, if you're
Right.
around, like it was in the community, it was like, what is happening to Kusa? What's going on? Players
Hmm.
leaving, just like stuff happening.
Right.
But I mean, it is like basically a brand new team, the last year or so
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like those players, and then yeah, kind of like a new culture. But Zach is doing such a good job, and I know Zach would because of
Yeah.
how good he is at everything, whether it's social media or playing or filming. I'm especially good at filming, but
Yeah,
um
he's a
the
beast. Yeah,
best,
he's a
dude.
really good fucking player too. Like he's
Yeah,
such a solid competitor. He always does well. Like really good
yeah,
dude. I love Mags. Shout out Mags, man. If you're watching this, like I love you, bro.
yeah,
I'm proud of you.
yeah, yeah. It's so cool how Kusa especially, they seem to have been blessed with like first it was TJ in terms of video and quality production, right? Which is so big for Kendama, obviously.
Well,
But then Mags came in, and in terms of like some of the best filmers, editors in Kendama, Mags has got to be up there,
right now he's the best.
Like right now, like cinematic
Yeah,
stuff, dude, it's better
yeah,
than like a lot of the commercials that I see for like as if it's like a big corporate video company like doing the shit. Like Mags is
right.
so like he is so honed
Yeah,
at that shit.
he is. I think that as far as like you talk about like non filmers in the game right now, I think that it's it's Mags right
Yeah,
now. But I do believe Jake Means has more versatility. If you look at his body of work, you can tell that
yeah,
he's been like a video professional for so long. And Jake
yeah,
Weens has always had the ability to convey emotion in
yeah,
edits better than anybody else, you
yeah,
know. And so it's like him and Mags right now as far as like videos. But Mags is doing that like hot, sexy, fast clips,
yeah,
fire like songs, like big drops, a little bit darker, you know what I mean?
yeah,
He's filming on a Sony and shit comes out different than a Canon, you know, and like
yeah,
he's just got those really awesome shots and it's just
yeah,
starting out great. You know what I mean? Like we premiered an edit at Battle at the Border, and then like right after it was a magazine, and I was like, oh, that's a fucking video. You know what I
mm,
mean? I was like, that guy's a professional. So it's cool to see, and he's making the team look really good. It's awesome.
yeah. I think the editing with Mags, like how quick the clips and the transitions and then the sounds. I always talk to him about like his like in Premiere, whatever he uses, his sound must be crazy because like he'll take a clip sound and then like move it over to the next clip. It's so sick, you know?
Yeah, he's super talented. That guy's got he's young too. I think he graduated college within the past like year and a half or 2 years or
Yeah.
something
So
like
he's done the
that. And like
trendy video stuff, you know, like
yeah,
yeah,
but he can do whatever he wants. Like he's gonna be
yeah,
someone like TJ who's like not just Kendama, the whole video realm world is there for you. So
yeah,
yeah, he's got a lot going on.
yeah. Well, in terms of the scene of Kendama, when did you start playing? When did you start getting into it?
I got in over 11 years ago, so I started in 2012 in early February. So I've been playing over 11 years.
Okay. And then in terms of teams,
Yeah,
when did you join and who'd you join up until now?
like Kendama companies.
Yeah.
I have only ever been on Grand Theft. That's
Okay.
it.
And when did you
So I
join
did
that?
that. I joined in 2014 in August, and I left October. I left in like when did I leave? So I left recently. Like I left like a few weeks before the company started. I'm gonna go back to my IG real quick, but um, let me see just one quick moment here. Yeah, so I left in August of 2022. So
Um,
eight full years.
yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure if you were earlier on different teams or it's just Green Theory, huh?
Yeah, I mean a lot of us kind of started that way. We had like our we started back then. How long have you been playing for?
Since 2015.
2015. Yeah. So a lot of players they would come up and get sponsored by a shitty brand and then get good and then bail, right?
Yeah.
People like Wyatt and Chris June, they were on Clack and Kendamas. I don't know if you're ever familiar with them. I think they were gone by the time that you
Yeah.
came into the scene, but they were sponsored, and I'm trying to think, did I have an early sponsor I'm spacing on? I tried to get sponsored by Folk and Kendamas and some other things. Like I tried, it
Yeah.
didn't work, you know. So yeah, a lot of like Wyatt and Chris and some of the early CTK guys like had like those weird sponsors at first, and they're like, like I'm gonna do something better because I'm good, like I
Yeah.
can I can go somewhere else. So yeah, I've always been with Grain Theory. They were the best
Yeah.
for me. Like I think that it's hard to look back and like find other players that have been with the company for so fucking long. Like I was with
Yeah.
them for like 8 years, a little bit
Yeah.
longer actually, because I was
It's
on the team
awesome.
for months before I got announced. And um, I never, I wouldn't have left if I didn't start my own brand. Like I have
Yeah.
nothing but good things to say about them. And like in all honesty, in the pro sphere, when you leave a company and like you can say that, that's really rare. Where you're like
Yeah.
happy with how it went. There's a lot of things that happen that you're not happy with your
Right.
company as a sponsored player as you get into it, and that's why people leave. And we've seen it
Yeah.
a lot recently where people are just leaving, because they're
Yeah.
not happy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that they're not playing a non. Everyone's thing these days is like, I won't stop playing. I'm just it's the next chapter, right? And that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky to have such a good time with them. They always did right by me. Matt and Jake are reasonable people. They love the game of Kendama, and they took me everywhere when I was putting out content and being productive and doing stuff for them. Like they made sure they could get me places and put me in a position to be successful. They gave me multiple mods, multiple designs.
Yeah.
I could have kept making them with them too.
Mm.
They were always there, and I could always call them, and like I couldn't have asked for a better sponsor for my whole time. So
Yeah.
I was very lucky.
So Jake Weens started Grain Theory when he was on Kusa. He was at Kusa Pro, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yes. Yes.
And then he left Kusa a little bit later after Game Theory started, right? Like he was kind of doing both.
He was doing both, but it wasn't for like a couple months. I feel like he did it for like a couple of years.
Yeah, I feel
I
the
think
same
at
way.
least I think he started GT, and I want to say 2013, something
Okay.
like that. 2013, 2014, right? And he was a Kusa pro, and he was on Kusa for like I think like 2 solid years at least. I think I
Okay.
don't quote me on that. I may be wrong, but it wasn't like I
Yeah.
saw my friend I got to leave. No, he was on it. Like he was doing
Yeah.
both for a while. And the reason why I was working was because like they were just such different areas. Like Grand Theory was just U.S. made chip.
Right.
It
Right.
was super small batch. Um, it was just and it was innovative and cool in its own thing. And like Kusa is like this like larger brand that does a lot of wholesale and moves numbers and like they were just not in the same
Right.
sphere. And it didn't end up working out. And I don't know if a lot of people know why, but it ended up being to where like Jake was working with Kusa. He wasn't just their player, right? Like he was
Mm,
getting paid by the company to make content, be the team manager, and he also had his own brand, he also has like a partner at that time, and like there's only so much you can do,
yeah.
and something's gonna give, right? If
Yeah.
you can't do two things perfectly. I firmly believe that, you know what I mean? Like you can't. That's why I was like, because they didn't Brain Theory when I left did not require me to do so. They were like, they didn't ask me to quit. I was like, I just want to be able to focus, and I won't be able to give you the time that was needed. And what ended up happening is that Jake couldn't do the things that he wanted for both things at once. You got to
Yeah.
spend your time doing something. It's your brand. That's the one you're going to choose, and doing the thing that like you truly love. And so he didn't leave out of a place of like animosity. There was no hard feelings, to my understanding. It was just like it's time to move on and focus on this. And they're also Grain Theory at first was not making you know mass produced kendamas overseas, and like they had to implement that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's at that point where it's like, okay, well, you're selling kendamas that are now directly that you're going to be selling kendamas. They're going to compete
Compete.
and
Yeah.
and cause tension. And so you know um that's why he transitioned out of that, and it was emotional for him. Like
Yeah.
it was, and like I don't mean to like tell Jake's story. I know that's all I'm going to leave it at, but like it was a big deal for him. He really
Yeah.
cared about his Kusa teammates. He loved that brand. He did a lot with that brand. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was hard for him to move away from that. The same thing was for me when leaving Green Theory. Like I cried the whole goddamn day. Like when you're with
Yeah.
the company for so long and you know them, and like they've done so much for you, and like they put Green Theory is the reason I was able to travel. Like
Yeah.
I didn't come from a background of being able to do stuff like that, and like so there's always this level of appreciation, I
Yeah.
think. And so Jake ended up having to depart ways, and he still is on great terms with everybody, and everyone still loves him, and vice versa. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's weird that, with Kendama, especially because we're all playing Kendama because we really love it and not necessarily
Right.
because because I mean, no, nobody's getting super rich off of it, but especially players, you don't make any money. You're just using the time that you have to play. And
No,
so
no, you don't. Yeah.
you build identities as a player, especially when you get sponsored, like if you are a Chrome player or if you're a Green Theory player, like it is a part of you. So I imagine when you left Green Theory, did you feel like a different identity kind of, especially with playing Kendama? Like was that challenging at all?
No, it was, and it's not something you realize right away. Like
Yeah,
you're so used to, that is your identity to the public. Like you're a
yeah,
Grand Theory pro. That's what I
yeah,
was.
yeah,
For so long. And it doesn't really hit you until like you like are going out to film and you like don't pick up, the Green Theory. And you're like, oh, I gotta go use my. It's just weird. It's just
yeah,
different, and
yeah,
it becomes like an identity of who you are, especially if you're content and happy on your team. Like I was. Like I was really stoked all the time to be on that company, and so like
yeah,
yeah, it was definitely an interesting transition. But it ended up being cool because I went from that right into my own condoms. Right,
yeah,
I was able to um play with the stuff that I wanted. So
yeah,
if I had like not like if I didn't wasn't starting a brand and I was just moving on into like unsponsored territory, like it would have been different for me. It would have been more
yeah.
challenging, I think, to have an identity.
But you had
But
that excitement and the eagerness of a new brand. You can just kind of transfer it over, right? Like, yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like I was stoked. I've been
yeah,
playing with I mean, we've been working on it for a while,
yeah,
so like before I made the public announcement, like, we knew it was happening, and I was super pumped about it because I was still because what happened was is that, 365 was like my re-entrance to getting back into something that I love to do, you
Yeah.
know? So that's one of the reasons why I don't do real estate
Yeah.
anymore, is
Yeah.
because like I was in it and I did for 2 years. Like I had a license for 2 years, right? And like I got to the point of like I was like, you know, you work really hard at it and you look up and you're just like, shit, I don't want to do this for 30 more years. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to do this for 30 years.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, like because I was doing real estate and I was working at the restaurants, right? So I always work a shit ton, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like I was like, man, I can't really play kendama, you know, because of my real estate and restaurant schedule. And then if I go into real estate full time, like I just don't like the people. I don't like what I'm doing. That's not for me. Like I didn't love it. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'd rather like try something and do something I love than, you know, just make decent money and be somewhat unhappy. You know, like I don't want
Right.
to do that. Like I'm 25 years old. Like I can fuck up now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm gonna give
Yeah.
this a try. And I think it was the, and even if for some reason, you know, it doesn't work out, which I have full confidence that it will, like I'm still standing by that decision. You know,
Yeah.
like this is what I like to do. This is what I love to do. So I want to put everything into it until I can, you know, and that's how me and Chris have felt. Like me and Chris haven't paid ourselves anything since we've done any of this. Like we
Yeah.
don't take money out of the company. We just put it right back in. We're
Yeah.
just trying to put more in so we can put more players on and make bigger releases and do stuff like that. So it's just like when people say like, "Oh, I'm not in this for the money," it's like, no, we're not in this for the money. Like, no one really is. You know, like hopefully we get to that point where we can have a living doing it and do something we love, but and have the income from it. But yeah, there's other things you could do to make money, and I think you understand that, and a lot of
Yeah.
people do.
What in terms of your making the 365 shape? So I know obviously the Edwin drop was gigantic, and I feel like it, I mean, everybody in the community heard about it and maybe like bought one. But before that, you had a few Damas. Do you want to just go through like the production so far with 365 of what you've made?
Release wise, yeah.
Yeah.
So we released our first Kendamas were Sulabs, a Sulab collaboration
Oh
between
yeah.
our brand and then Sulab. That was the first thing we did. That was the very first project. Um, and it was cool because it helped us come out with a bang. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like obviously the friction clear hype is still there. I mean it's very much like a thing. And like I know Sue was gracious enough to work with us, which was cool. But I know Sue personally, so he was
Mm,
down. I was like, yo, this is gonna be our first project. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we want to get in people's faces with it, and like this is gonna help us do that. And like he was, I mean, he doesn't do that for people. Like
Right.
he doesn't work with everybody, and especially a brand that had never had anything come out. Like he just did it purely because he just liked me and Chris's players, right? So that
Yeah.
was cool. So we did 4 different Sulab Tama Ken combinations, and we actually like decked out the Ken too. You know, like we customized it to
Yeah.
each one. Like we had like it was a complete setup. You know, so we try to make it cool. You know, like the colorways is something that hadn't been done before. Like we were able to design our own colorway, right? Within the parameters of what we can do with his manufacturer for the Tamas, and we did the corresponding Kens.
Mm,
So 4 different designs. They sold immediately. They always
mm,
do.
mm,
And then after that, we did the mural series, which was
mm.
our first like actual like fully 365 project, right?
Yeah.
And did you end up seeing those novels?
The ones that I remember are the dark pens, and they have maybe a little base cup. Is that what it is? And then I remember, I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah.
Merle, I know the
I'm gonna
Tama
grab
is a
one.
really cool design that goes around the,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I'll grab a couple right here from my stash here. Where are we at? So I'm coming back over. Gotta grab my stuff. So like these were the
Yeah.
next ones. We had 3 of them, right? I think it's just such a pretty design. Chris did all
Yeah.
this.
That's so cool.
This design here actually took a really long time. I think it was like 14 hours of like actual design work on just this
Oh,
part,
wow. That's cool.
right? Because like the way that they make these is like the sticker has to be cohesive and it's like this whole thing. And like, you know, so this was this, and we did this one, and then we did this one, and then we did another colorway that was all purple heart, all white, and
Yeah.
purple lines with purple heart. And so we did those 3 at once. That was our next release. Um, and then we did, I can't remember the order of it necessarily, but and then we did Edwin Pro models.
Hmm.
Because we put him on and immediately started cranking a design concept for him. I'll grab that too. So then we did Edwin like pro models, and with Edwin's pro model, he does Maple Ken Beach Tama because he like stalls a lot. So
Yeah.
we did this one right here.
Hmm.
Which is crazy. Like, look at this thing, man. It's crazy. This is so Edwin, by the way. You know, like
Yeah.
this
So
design is
cool.
wild. Then we did
Yeah.
that, and we did some Ken onlys on the site. We released these first at Battle, and now we just did bamboo
Yeah.
stickies, bamboo shredwood mod, completely bamboo, and then sticky clear. And then this week we have bamboo Ken onlys hitting our site, and bamboo shredwood mods, but with cushion clear.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's it. That's all we
Yeah. Yeah.
released.
Yeah. The shape. Have you had the same shape the entire time?
Good question. Not exactly. So when we released the Sula collaboration as our first run, that shape was slightly different.
Okay.
And we had to make, I think, two changes to it. It wasn't consistent enough for Lunar across the board. What
Yeah.
was the problem that we were running into? You know, like we pick up 50% of them and they were just like mid to not so good. So
Yeah.
then we changed it, made the Serato a little bit bigger, brought it down a little bit, and like changed something in this area. It was mostly on Chris, but like we adjusted the Ken. But it wasn't
Mm.
like a huge change and it wasn't something enough to cause something different,
Mm.
right? And since we only sold 200 total between all designs of the Sulabs, like there wasn't a bunch in circulation, so it wouldn't make sense for us to like completely rebrand it or do anything different. So we just called it
Yeah.
an updated fusion shape. Um, and so now this is the shape we're rocking now.
Okay. That's the fusion
Um,
shape.
this is the fusion shape. It's our one shape for now.
So what
And
was it like to design that shape? What were you
yeah,
looking
it was
for? And I mean, you've been around Kendama and especially Grain Theory, who designed a lot of the shapes in house for a while. So you want to
yeah.
go through like what that was like?
Yeah, totally. So it took a while, first off, to really get the shape where we wanted. A lot of prototypes, it felt like, and a lot of waiting. We wanted something that's good all the way around.
Yeah.
Um, that can lunar well, it can flip well, it can tap well, and can sling decently, right? And these are all things that are actually really hard to hit, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't do everything.
No. No.
And you know, we looked at all the shapes that were out there, all of them. You know, we tried to figure out, okay, what do we like from these? You know what I mean? And we wanted to make something that was just good all the way around, as to the best of our ability, right?
Yeah.
As you can tell, like this isn't like a crazy looking pen. It's not like
Uh,
large in any way. It's not like, you know, because Lotus, like your Kenamas always have really big cups, right?
yeah.
And that's, you know, that's what people want. That's what people like, you know. But we
Yeah.
were like, okay, well, maybe we got to find some kind of middle ground because like a lot of the shapes that like some people are like obsessed with, we don't actually like that much. You know,
Yeah.
we wanted something that can do most things, right?
Yeah.
And so, like for me, like the hammer shape from No Jumper, people like that shape. I hate
Yeah.
that shape. You
Yeah.
know, it's not for me. Um, and so, but they have like really big, like what thing is about like their shape is that like their Serato like goes out to here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it makes Lunar is like cracked. Like no
Yeah.
one can dispute the hammer shape from NGK. They can fucking Lunar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so we just tried to find a middle ground, you know. Then you look at the one
Yeah.
up, and like the one up was like it's one of those things that like everyone kind of just says is the best shape, right? Is the
Yeah.
one up is like the general consensus across the community. The shape's not that big, you know. It's
Right.
like not that tall. It's not that chunky. Like your Kenamas are bigger and chunky. The new jet shape is chunko. You know
Super
what I mean? Like
chunky. Yeah.
super chunky, and like people love those things, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we wanted to come out with a shape that was like good all the way around, and then we'll move into specialty shapes in the future. That's something we're down to do and consider. Like, but we
Yeah.
just wanted to make something that we could do most things with.
Yeah.
So our process was, you know, make the cubs good size, make it tall, don't make it super tall. Like our shape is still like it's like, and another shape too that we looked at was the Nova from Kusa. Super slept on shape
Mm.
to me. Like
Yeah.
that shape is really good.
Okay.
And I don't think it got the love it should have. I thought it was better than the one up in a lot of ways.
Mm.
So then when like we took all those things that we liked and we tried to measure them and figure it out, and then we just kind of went from there and we ended up with this.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, stall point wise, we went for a little bit more of a rounded situation. It's not like sorry, this is a B grade, by the way. That's why it's
Okay.
in my house. You see, now they're not like super flat. We
Yeah.
went for some rounded edges, you know,
Yeah.
which we might change. Like we're changing it. We're not changing. We're considering changes all the time. But the goal
Yeah.
was just to make something that was well rounded.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could either just like you could really go into one trick and like be confident in it, like a lunar.
Yeah.
You can go into something like a T shape where nothing slings better than that, you know. But we just wanted to do something that was all around pretty good, and I think the feedback we've gotten has been fantastic. People like it a lot.
Yeah.
and I've been very happy with it. Like I can do tricks on this shape that I could never do with green theories. Like
Yeah.
I'm not that's not it's not a diss or anything, but like I can do things with this that like I feel like I'm a better Kendama player now. And like that's
Yeah.
like the goal, you know. So
Yeah. We Lotus is we're in the same direction. Like people don't realize that if you have a shape that's really good at one thing, it means that it's also limited at one thing too. Another thing, like
yeah.
heavy
Yeah.
Serato is not going to sling, but it's going to loon really well. And
Right.
like a Ken that's going to, I mean, basically everything. Like if you just have a really good Ken flipped, a shape that can Ken flip really well, like it probably won't be able to lunar because the weights and like, and that's
Right.
where,
A good example is a Max Angel mod, by the way. Sorry, not to
yeah.
cut you off.
No,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. I have a Max Angel mod too. I just bought one, and Max himself was
Yeah,
just
that's
like, it's
fire.
not going to loon super well, but you're going to be able to do Ken flips and taps on it. And
Yeah,
it's good.
that thing fucking flips. I got one too.
Yeah, it's
Like
fun.
it's yeah, it's fun.
But we have a new shape coming, and with the help of
Cool.
Marcus joining the team, Marcus was like, I really want a all around shape that you can just kind of jam with and you can do whatever with. And I'm really interested in shapes. I love designing new shapes and trying new shapes
Yeah.
too. And when I picked up the 365 shape, that's exactly what I felt like. It felt really good in my hand, like right when I picked it up. And then
Mhm.
just all around it was lunaring. It was doing everything that I wanted it to do. Like it just everything just kind of fit. And
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know if in general the consensus is also doing that, or if other companies are going to start doing more specific things. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
cool that you
can't
brought,
tell.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I'm cool. I'm glad. Like I love Marcus, by the way. He's phenomenal, and like I'm stoked to try that new shape. I think that I think what about shapes right now, what I think is cool is that like a lot of them are really different,
yeah,
right? Like you have an option, you have choices, right? When I first started doing this, it was like, yeah, different companies have different shapes, but like a lot of them are like fairly comparable. But like now they're not, and
right,
it's fun, you know. Like
yeah,
you have, and I don't know what direction it's going.
no,
Like me and Chris had to have a conversation of like, yo, this jet, you know, these shapes are big, you know, these are
yeah,
like big shapes. And I was like, do you like playing with these? He was like, no, I don't. I was like, well, I don't really either.
yeah,
And like, so this isn't a small shape at all, but it's
no,
not like we didn't go the big route. We had a
right,
conversation. I was like, do we go the big route? Is that what
yeah,
people want? And I was like, well, it's not really what we want. And the one up is a really, everyone loves the one up and it's not a big shape, you know,
no,
like they've had that shape a while. It's a little bit outdated, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But like, and I was like, well, do we just go into this chunky season? What I like about like, do we just go into this chunky phase of like
yeah,
making this big beefy thing because that's what people want, or do we do something that's a little bit more refined? And so
yeah,
we decided to go the refined route kind
yeah,
of thing. Um, and now that we have a solid shape, now the doors are open to do something that's more specialized, you know, like
mm,
the G shape or like the like a NGK hammer where it's just, you know, solid for about one thing, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that was kind of the idea. And so now that we have a shape, we can maybe do some more experimenting, which is kind of fun. But yeah, as a player, man, you have options these days to get whatever shape you want, which is cool.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was curious to see, especially 2019 is when Soul One Up came out with the Liam mod, remember? And then
Yeah.
that same NAKO is when Lotus was announced, and then we came out with the Sacred shape, and
Yeah.
the One Up and the Sacred. We I think we're taller. We had the same big cup size, so we both went
Yeah.
like a big cup. But
Right.
I was I actually right after that I was maybe progressing to a bigger shape just because the
Hmm.
Sacred shape was popular and One Up shape was popular because it was bigger at the time.
It
But
was when it came out, it was for sure.
yeah, but with this new shape that we're doing, we actually are going a little bit smaller. And um, with the new stuff like Sweets came out with the new shape after that, right? The G shape and the Boost, I think. Or was the Boost
Yeah,
before?
the boost was before, so maybe
Okay.
that's what it was.
But yeah, I mean, obviously they went smaller. The G shape is a lot smaller. Not a lot smaller,
Yeah.
just smaller. It's not going in that progression of getting bigger.
No, no,
Um,
it's not. It's not.
so what do you think about what do you think about like regulation shape? Do you think there should be regulations for Kendama competitions of what you can do with shapes in terms of like size or
Yeah, it's a
specific
good
features?
question. Um, Yeah, let's say like KWC they have like their box. I don't know if they're still doing the box or not at KWC. Maybe they went away
The
from that.
glow ken
They
box.
use
I'm not sure either. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if they're still doing that. But they were doing that when I was going back to Cup like years ago, like 2015 and shit. They had these box, right? And you had to
Yeah.
fit into the box. And that was like their only thing. Because Gloken's whole thing was like they were gonna be different than the strictness that was the JKA.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so they wanted to give players some leniency. And so my Kendama was always fitting there. But some of the Kendamas that if that box is it's probably large enough they even have it. I don't know if they do, but if some of the shapes that are on there, like a jet shape wouldn't fit in that shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um for me, like I don't think there should be any requirement on shape or size.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I gotta take this quick call real quick.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
Just a quick moment here. Netcha, I can't talk right now. I'm on a Zoom call. I'm on a podcast right now. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'm on a podcast right now. I can't talk. I love you though. No. But sorry about that, Isaac.
Okay.
So what was I saying? So yeah, for me, like I don't think there should be any size requirement on it. Like, if everything is out there, right? If you have
Yeah.
you can use whatever the fuck you want to compete, right? You should be able to use that. I mean, like
Yeah.
if because everyone has that access, right? So if you want to use a bigger shape, go for it. Like
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. It's cheater to use this. There used to be that culture in Kendama, by the way. Like we used to have
Yeah.
that. Like I was a part of that. I used to shit on people all the time when I was like younger and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think there should be a requirement on it because like the let's say that someone wants to use a big kendama, like that's worse for me. Like I would
Yeah.
rather use a small one, to
Yeah.
compete with. So like if that's your preference, go for it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you
I
know,
understand both sides too.
I agree with that, but I just wonder with that freedom, and we have that freedom now, right? Like the Golden Box, I don't think is super relevant. I'm not exactly sure if they still use it at KWC. I think at
Yeah, I'm
Catch and
not sure
Flow
either.
they were measuring bevels.
Weird. Weird.
So yeah, but a big bevel, like even I think the limitation was 23.5 millimeters. I feel
Yeah.
like even if someone did 24, 25, you're gonna start be having
Your
trouble
spike
J
just slips out.
right. You won't be
Yeah,
able to
your
J
spike
stick.
just slips out.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, man, I agree. I like freedom, of being able to like, okay, get the most honed shape. And yeah, like I think the biggest issue with the Glowchem box is the Serato size and Serato width. I think the cups,
Yes.
because you've seen that shape of the box, like it's so
Yeah, it's
crazy,
wonky.
right? Like
Yeah.
a big cup. I think it's the Serato width, which I think a lot of shapes are just around. Like I think depending on the warmth and the humidity, some shapes just won't be able to squeeze in there, and other ones would,
Right. Yeah.
But as of right now, I don't see any problems. But I just imagine that in a few years, I really want to talk to you about this, just where you think the shapes are going in paint too, because I've seen you play with the I think Oken paint.
Oh yeah, the O Revo plays. Yeah.
Revo, yeah, and it is the like
The glaze.
sickest,
Yeah.
yeah, the sickest paint. I use it a little bit too. Like the tricks
Yeah,
that
like I
it's
was
an
in the middle of
instant
buying a
level
couple
up,
right now.
right? Yeah, yeah,
No, it's
like
fucked. Like I'll talk about it for a quick second. I don't know the Okinawan dudes. No one really does that well. Chat
yeah,
works with them.
yeah,
Um, they don't really know the community that well. Like they don't know who Jake Wings
yeah,
is and shit. They're out of there. Like I'm not throwing any shade at them.
yeah,
I met a couple of their players and they've been fantastic.
yeah.
Um, I have no fucking idea who owns that company. They're kind of a rando lobby. Like Tio over in Europe doesn't know who the fuck runs that
Really?
company.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like they're not involved like we are.
yeah,
Um, but I will say this, like, and I don't mean any shade by that necessarily, by the way, for Okinamas. I'm not hating on the brand. I love their products. I think they make
yeah,
good shit. I don't know anything about them. I don't know the owners and people that I know been doing this a while, also kind of have no idea.
yeah,
That Rebel Glaze is the best paint in the world, without a
yeah,
doubt. To me, like I can use that thing to like do anything. Like I only have had one, and like I like their Revo Clear, but I'm talking about the glaze. The glaze is the one
okay,
that's not as popular, and like to me, like it is the best paint I've ever used. I've used Friction
yeah,
Clear, I've used all the paints. Like to me, it's by far the best paint in the world. Is that Revo glaze, and maybe I just have a good one, but
yeah,
it's durable. It has give. sometimes when you have an AE clear, it's too sticky to do what you want at certain times. Like I've never had that problem. It's just perfect to me.
I've gone through a
It's
lot of
crazy.
different Oken. Here's one right here.
Yeah.
And the first one I ever got, it was so fucking sticky that I couldn't lighthouse. I would automatically lean and do Cinderellas, but it was, I mean, if you can't lighthouse, you
Yeah.
can't lighthouse, right?
No, that's terrible. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, but so the one that you're playing, you can, it gives enough give that you can.
It does, and like maybe that's what I'm saying. Like maybe I have a great one. I'll grab it too, but like yeah, I can totally house on it, and that's where like it's finding that sweet spot. But yeah, like I could totally have like more than enough give to like do the tricks that I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's really good.
Is
I mean,
that
the
the
paint's
one? So you've
amazing.
only had one. You're using that one.
I've only had one. I bought this at Battle at the Border.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that's the
love
one that
it.
you hit your crazy fucking 28 tricks
Yeah,
later.
I did everything on that thing. Every good trick I did during 28 was on that thing. Everything.
Yeah. I mean,
With
just
the
to name a
fusion shape, it
few.
was like it was over. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So fusion shape plus that sticky, nice paint. You hit quad tray, which I don't think has ever been done, right?
Quad inward tray.
Quad inward
Yeah.
tray.
Quad regular tray.
Quad regular tray. How many lunar
Quint
flips
quint quint inward quint regular tray lunar. And
did
then
you?
eight in and
Wow.
yeah, and then eight inward lunar flip.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Um,
fucked.
so before we go into more paint right now
Hmm.
with like, I want to talk about like rad and Kush and everything. But back
Hmm.
in the day, what was it like? Like, especially you started in 2012. And I kind of hear
Hmm.
that it was more competitive with what paint you're using, and like people would really get criticized for using sticky paint, right?
Um, yeah, when I first started, all paint was ass. Like it was just
Yeah.
terrible. Like all paint was the same. It was just bad. There was like silk paint is what they called it. It was just like rubber, right? And then they had like sticky clear, right? And people were using JKA Damas back then. Like were using Ozoras and stuff. And for
Yeah.
some reason, like yellow Ozoras, like for some reason just had better paint. Like for some reason that those just came out better. So those were like really sought after. Even though it was the same clear that on all other Ozoras and Shinfujis and all that kind of stuff. Um, and then Cushion came up. I don't know when they came out with Cushion, but it's been around a fucking long time. I would want to say it's like maybe 2014. People were crushing that a cup in 15. So, um, and we were calling that thing cheater. Like Cushion was cheater, right? That's what we would say. Like, oh, that's a cheater. Kendama. I'd say that shit. COTK was saying that shit to other people. We were like, oh,
Who
it's
was
cheater.
playing with it? Who was cheating at the time?
Just the Sweets team. Because like, we're just like shit on the Sweets team. People like, I think like, what, maybe be like, guys like Bryson, and like in his
Yeah, yeah.
glory in 2016 was just like, and the Gallaghers are just using this cushion paint. We're just like, man, this is cheater, bro. And we like hand it back to them. We're just salty that our paint fucking sucked.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so like that was like the mentality there of like, like it's just too sticky, it's too good, so you're cheating.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
that was like the OG mentality, which is not the right way to think. And I'm glad that
Uh,
we don't do that anymore as a community. But yeah, there wasn't a lot. There was like now there's paints, now there's some things out there. But it was like kind of sticky clear, some really bad Kusa silk rubber paint that we
yeah,
pretended to like, but no one really did. And and
yeah,
and and then there was that was kind of it. And then there was cushion. And
yeah,
then that cushion changed everything.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so cool that I don't know if you've played a lot of different paints. Have you explored not only Adrian? It sounds like you have, but like
Yeah, I have.
Rad, Quad. You did Oken. Have you been around with trying different stuff?
Does quad have their own clear?
I think so. Yeah.
I haven't really fucked with it that much.
You tried Rad?
I Rev.
Rad.
What's Rad? Who is that?
Rad is a guy from Colorado who I've been playing a lot. We just came out with some sacreds that
No,
are Rad cleared.
I haven't tried it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's good. It's honestly Adrian, Quad, and Rad. Those three clears. I think they all use the same ingredient. I don't know what the fuck it is, but they all
Yeah, I don't know.
like Adrian's like it can be too sticky, and then it's kind of like rough. And I've
Yeah,
been
it's
by the
rougher.
way, I've been incredible Adrian clears, but
Me too. Me too.
yeah, like especially recently. But they Adrian's also kind of gets dirty. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
like
grittier. It has like grit to it. You know what I mean?
yeah. And so
Yeah.
Rad and like me and Russ just got a Rad Sacred, and then we were doing like these crazy, the Cinderella trick where you get a lean house and you twirl it around.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, that
sticky
trick's
enough.
hard.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
sticky enough where like that it's so much fun to play, like it's
Right.
I think for Oken you could probably do that too. You just catch the lean house in a certain way and then you just like dude, I mean like factory silk and factory sticky, I don't think you could ever really lean house straight out of the gate, right? It needs to be like broken in.
Yeah.
But these new paints, you can lean house and you can border basically right away because of how
Yeah, there's no breaking anymore. There's no
no.
patience anymore too because of that, you know?
But what I was gonna
Like,
say is that it's so cool that these solo painters are like selling shit, like Adrian, dude. It's
yeah. They're
we're
figuring it
all
out.
I think we're progressing from just factory stuff to, and of course Kush has been around for a while, which is sweets.
Yeah.
But I love this era, this time right now, this past year, where it's just like all these different paints are coming out.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I haven't tried all of them I haven't tried all the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah,
Like I still have yet to, because it's like if I don't buy it or if I don't
yeah,
have someone in my immediate, group here in Portland, like I'm not going to be able to try it.
yeah,
And it's always interesting to try new stuff. And
yeah,
you're right, there's a lot happening with clears right
yeah,
now. And it's kind of like, it's the future of what we're doing right
yeah,
now is making sure like, your paint's good. And because like nowadays, like paint's so good that like you don't need to break it in. Like
yeah,
people don't have the patience for it. Like you used
yeah,
to have to break in your paint, right?
yeah.
And like with sticky clear, like you can sometimes get it good. Sometimes, some people like sticky. Like I like sticky. A lot of players are still like regular sticky, like
Yeah.
Honda clear is what I'm talking about
I
here.
like it too. Yeah, I
Um,
like going back to it. Yeah,
yeah, it's different. It still definitely really, really has its place. It's a good paint.
yeah,
But, if there's a certain way to kind of break it in
yeah.
and then sometimes it gets good, sometimes it doesn't,
Right,
but
right.
with like these clears that are just good right out the gate, it's like, people want something that's lunar ready right away or
Mm.
that's border or lean house ready immediately. And like
Yeah,
it's out there. So like you got to figure out a way to like, navigate around that. I think, Kendama's different now. It's
yeah.
really different.
So back in the day, when did you finally come around to Kush? When did people come around to Kush? Like in 2016?
When did I like consider it acceptable? Probably
2 years ago.
2007, 2000. Yeah, exactly. Maybe 2017, 18, something like that.
Okay.
Probably 2018. It was not something I ever used. Like I play with another brand, so I couldn't really like use Cushion Clear.
Yeah.
Um, but I stopped hating on it at about like 2018, probably, which isn't, it should have happened sooner than that.
Yeah.
It should have been that much of a hater, but like I don't know, I was immature. I was a kid, like I started doing this when I was like 15 or 16. So like
Yeah.
yeah, it's different now. Yeah, I was like 15
Um.
now when I started. So yeah.
So, with grain theory, were you just mostly using natty, sticky, and rubber, like factory stuff?
Yeah, so I use Natty forever with grain
Yeah.
theory. Like the nice thing about grain theory, Thomas, is that they were natural, but they weren't sanded, right? So no one
Mm.
else is making you a shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think homegrown started after grain theory did. Like
Yeah.
grain theory was the first brand to be like, here's your expensive ass kendama, the quality is fantastic, and here's your raw ash tama, and it's not sanded, so it
Yeah.
actually has some fucking grit to it,
Yeah.
right? So for the longest time with grain theory, I just played Natty and you just get
Mm.
your sweat into it and with the right humidity, especially where I live in Portland, like and in the rain too, like it would just get really sticky and great. To me, it was better than most sticky clear at the time or anything else. If you can get like
Okay.
your natural, it was called raw ash, um, and it just got to the point of just being awesome. Like I was able to do kind of whatever lunar tricks I wanted back then on these natural,
Yeah.
Thomas. Like if you go back like 2000 like 14 to 16 is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You go back and look at my clips on Instagram or something, you can tell I'm not using paint on
Yeah.
a lot of them. And grain theories when they come out were like the most lunar honed shape ever. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Because of their innovative design. And then I can't remember when we started doing Android stuff with grain theory. I think it was 2017, maybe. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure.
Yeah.
And then just using sticky.
Yeah.
And those are the only paints that Grain Theory ever has had. They don't have a clear. They don't. They don't do
Yeah.
rubber at all. So they've only ever had sticky, and then they've had natural, which is cool.
Gotcha. I
So
kind
that
of
was
want to
what
get
I
in.
played with. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I kind of want to get into your personal Kendama progression and
Yeah.
experience because you
Sure.
have I think a lot of people love. I mean, you have a lot of like fans, right? Like a lot of people are like, this Stodd is my number one player.
That's
And,
it's very
and
humbling. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's because uh your style, like you were on top for a long time. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure competitively, but definitely doing
Trick
tricks that were
wise.
progressing the game, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I
in
was
terms of
pushing it for a bit. Yeah.
yeah. So when do you think that started? When do you feel like you were on top of a lot of concepts and up until
Trick
when?
bombs. Yeah. Yeah. So, um, yeah. I mean, I guess you answer. So I'll answer honestly. Like
Yeah.
um, and it might sound arrogant to say what I'm about to say, but I'm not trying to come across that way. But like, you
Yeah.
know how good you are as a player. Of all these players that you interview, by the way, and they're like, oh, I think I was like, no, these fuckers know.
Yeah.
Like Tibble X and Nick and Takuya, these motherfuckers know that they're better than everybody, and they know
Yeah.
by a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their exact responses have been. You know what I mean? But like, you can tell when you're shitting on kids, and like, I'm not trying to be an asshole there, and I'm just a little bit more blunt than most, but like, you can tell,
Yeah.
right? And like, so I started in 2012. It was I grew up in Bend, Oregon. It's a mountain town in Oregon. It's like 3 hours away from Portland, so it's smaller, 70, 80,000 people. It was a fad of my high school freshman year. I was like 14 or whatever. And I got good like immediately. I lighthouse the first night I got it. Like I could do
Really?
things right away with it. Yeah, I was just naturally good at it. Like, some
Yeah.
people are like naturally just good at it. And I was
Yeah.
one of those players. Like I
Yeah.
did lighthouse on a Shin Fuji, German flag Shin Fuji from, Japanese Kendama that I bought at a Japanese store in Bend. Like I picked it up.
That's so
My dad
cool.
wouldn't let me hang out with my friends. I got salty. I bought this Kendama for 35 bucks at the time. It was super expensive. And I just played Kendama for 6 hours at night in this little room, in the middle of winter with a fucking shitty light. And I could do lighthouses and stuff. So I was always just good at it. And then like people stopped playing. Like it was a fad, right? So like it kind of, Kendama always does this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It went down. And then me and my buddy Nick Emmons, just my buddy who's playing with me, like we just kept going, and then
Mm.
you just keep getting better, and then like you start filming videos. And if you go type in Nick Stock and now you go back, there's some shit that you don't even want to see. It's like bad edits, like terrible quality, filmed on a potato. I'm
Yeah.
like, I look like I'm wearing V-neck shirts and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like it's such a
Yeah.
different human being. But um I realized when I was really good, like I was actually like super good, was when I went to Portland for an
Okay.
event. It's a 3 hour drive, and I went to Portland for a partly cloudy jam hosted by Nick Rutrall, Two Bears. Um, and I met Wyatt and Chris, and like I'd only play with me and my buddy and Ben. I didn't really know, and like there was an actual scene of phenomenal players in Portland, and like I was just above
Really?
anybody there at the time. Yeah. I could do borders balance back. Like I pushed borders balance for a bit. Like I wasn't the first one to do it, but I was the first to do a lot of borders tricks and
And
stuff
what
and
year
lead
was that
houses.
event?
It was like 2013 or no 2012. I think I was playing only a few months type of thing. It was
Okay.
like pretty soon after I started playing. Um, and then from there, like I didn't play. This is my personal feeling. Like for like from 2000 and no, honestly, until about 2016, I didn't play with anyone I thought who could match me in Kendama play. And that's not competing, right? But as far as like going out and playing with players and doing tricks and like being consistent in person, that's one of the things I held on to a lot. Was like I could like rip tricks in person too.
Hmm.
And I didn't think the Bonds, the Bosches, the Fishes, I just didn't think they were there for me. Like I played with them and like they could do things that were incredible, but like I felt like I was the best player in the world in 2015.
Hmm.
I got second at Cachefo, third at World Cup. I wasn't the best competitor. Those are different things, right? And like
Hmm.
for people say best player in the world, like if you want to talk about competitions and that's where you stand, I totally respect that. That makes a lot of sense. You can
Yeah.
only ever quantify with competitions,
Yeah.
right? But as far as like tricks that were being put out and like never been done were the only things I was posting back then, and like
Yeah.
pushing taps forward, like I pushed taps forward, like I
Yeah.
did the first 8 tap, and like I
Yeah.
was doing the fives and the fours before people were doing the other stuff. Um, that's where I was like, okay, well, this is my game.
So you're
Like
number one.
I
You
got
feel like you're number one 2014 to 2016?
not 2016 is when I lost it because I went through some personal stuff and I got diagnosed with like a heart condition that I wasn't aware of.
Mm,
And my heart's fine. It's all good. I didn't have any open heart or anything like that. But like I was just anxiety hit me, and
yeah.
stuff. And so I stopped playing in 2016
Okay.
for like a year almost. And I lost it all. And because like when you the only way you can get that good is by playing constantly. Like I was playing all the time. When I was
Yeah.
with Wyatt and Chris and on COGK and all that stuff, like you're playing constantly.
Mm,
Right. And then but then and that's my period of time. Right. That's
mm,
where I felt like, like I was just I could do what I wanted with it. I could land whatever I wanted most of the time when I went out to film. And I could play with the best players in the world and be as good as them, if not better in a lot of cases.
okay.
And I don't mean to sound like a prick by that. That's just my
No,
honest
no.
feeling
Yeah, yeah,
for that time period. And that was like my thing, and that was
yeah.
like my time frame, right? And I was never like I wasn't winning cup like Wyatt won cup in 2015. Bonds won World Catch and Flow in 2015. I didn't win those comps, but
Right.
I had that period of I feel like of dominance where like I could do with what I wanted, and I
So
think
it's mostly
that's like where
2015. Yeah.
yeah, 2014. I mean, I thought I was better than everyone in 2014 too. I just didn't tell
Yeah.
people. In
Yeah.
13 too. I thought I could do things back then that I just wasn't saying it,
Wow.
or I
So
wasn't
even a
acting
year
like it.
in.
I thought I was better than Bond for the longest time. I
Yeah.
thought I was, like I didn't like I said, like that's my honest opinion. Like in 2013, like at the end of 2013 moving forward, except for like Keith Matsumura and a little bit of 2012, 2013-ish era, like I thought I could do what I wanted. I didn't
Yeah.
think anyone could really I didn't play with someone in person up until like 2015 that could like come close, like
Yeah.
Fish was like that. Like Fish is fucked, by the way. Like Jake Fisher in
Wow.
person, Jake Fisher in person was the nastiest motherfucker out there.
Yeah.
Bond's really nasty in person. Sam Cannon, low key, just
Yeah.
right up there too. Like back
Yeah.
then, Bosch was doing tricks edit wise that no one could do, like in
Okay.
his edits, where you're
Yeah.
just like, dude, no one can do that. Like his edit
Yeah.
3 was fucked, right?
Yeah.
But in person, the people that really struck me as like being like there was like Fish and Cannon and Bonds and Wyatt, and that was kind of like what I felt like was some the best players were. And like
Yeah.
Nick wasn't there at that point. Nick and Zach were like Zach won NACO in 2015, but like those kids like peaked later. They're fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Like they like
Yeah.
got good later, So
Yeah.
and Zach is peaking now. I mean, so that's kind of like where I felt like I was really pushing tricks and moving things forward.
Yeah.
And now like I just like then Liad came out and Liad shit on everybody. Like
Yeah.
Liad was like the kid at 2000, I think 16, 17, where you were like, I'm not better than that dude. Like when Liad went to Cup, I think 16 or 17, I was like, this kid is way better than me. Like he's way better than me.
Yeah. Leah gets me
And
stoked. My favorite player.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the dude is insane.
Yeah.
He was arrogant motherfucker,
Was he?
cocky. Kid knew how good he was. And he wasn't like in your face about it, but like he knew,
Yeah.
and he was better than everybody. Like it was like it's like he was like what Siblings is now,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like when Liad came ripping out, I was like, well, that was it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing 12 tap. I'm not
Yeah.
doing any of that stuff. His 10 foot lines, like,
Yeah.
and he's one of those naturally talented players.
Yeah.
He could come back now. He's like a big boy now. He like lifts weights and shit. He's not in it anymore. But like if he wanted to
Yeah.
come back, he could probably do what he wants. Like that kid is insane.
So if you
So
were to give a player for each year starting in 2015, would you say 2015 is Stodd, 2016 Bryson?
so yeah. So what I would do is this. I would say like I'll start earlier.
Okay.
2012, Keith Matsumura, the first best player. Like Keith was the best player in the world without a doubt. Like no one was fucking with Keith when Wenatchee videos were coming out, like WKT. No one was messing with Keith. Keith is my all-time favorite player.
Okay.
He made me want to be a better Canal player. And I
Okay.
played with Ken with him in 2013 because they did this tour and they came to Portland. I played Ken with him. It was like the best experience of my life.
That's so sick.
And he's like such a good dude, super humble. Not one of those players that was cocky. Just
Yeah.
such a good Canal player. Loved it. So there was Keith in 2012. 13. I think you probably have to put. Bent was 14, so Bonds was 14, right? So 2013, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I have to think. I'm trying to think of when Bosch's. I'm gonna check real quick because if Bosch's Edit 3 came out in 13,
And
it was
he's up.
Bosch.
Yeah.
Because that edit was just beyond anything. One second here.
I'm gonna look too.
And yeah, so it should be one of the first ones. It says 9 years ago. So when did it come out? Yeah, yeah. So this came out in November 2013. I'd say Bosch in 2013.
Okay.
Um, 2014 was Bond's World Cup win. Undisputed, just king at that point.
Better than you
I
though?
felt I didn't think so, but he won World Cup. He was able to go to an event I wasn't able to go to.
Yeah.
Um, um, but I mean that was his year, you know. Bonds is the
Yeah.
greatest player ever. You know what I mean? Like no one can
Yeah.
really say that. Well, Nick now, but yeah. So I would say it was Bosch in 13 just because of that video alone was really insane. And then Bonds 14. I would say me in 15.
Okay.
Um, but Fish was always there.
Yeah.
Fish like smacked me at NACO finals in freestyle, like handed it to me in 15. Fish was right there to me in 15. Fish is the I'll get maybe this is a different part of the conversation, but Fish is like he was the most fucked up player I saw play in person. Like Fish could just
Mm.
do stuff. And like if you look at his edits, like none of his lines make any sense.
No, yeah.
Like cause like his brain is so scattered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he has like that ADHD, ADD like trick structure.
Yeah.
But that kid could do shit in person. Like he was the best in-person player to me. And then you got Bryson at 2016.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
17, 17 is hard. I would feel like I don't really
Liad?
have yes, Liad was definitely the best player in 17. You're right. And then it was Nick in 18. Just went on an absolute tear. No one could
Right.
mess with Nick in 18. No one can mess with Nick in 19. Um, no one can mess with Nick in 2020 either, actually. Um, and then 2020, so it's 2023 now. And then you could put, it's always weird because Tiblix and Nick and Takuya have always been
Feel like Taki would be what, 22, maybe
20
21?
20. I would say you got to put Tib in there for 22. I think Takuya is this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
And
feel
then
like in 2021, I feel like
I
it's
guess
got to
we'll
be
see this year
Tiblix.
though. I mean,
Tiblix.
it's only April, right? So depending
It is
on
only April, yeah. So like it gets muddy towards the end because so many people are good, but like I would definitely say that Liad was for sure had his time.
yeah,
Bonds, Bosch, Keith,
yeah,
myself. You could put Fish. You could put Wyatt there too. You could put Wyatt at 15 too. Wyatt won World
yeah,
Cup. Wyatt was killing people back then. Like you could put Wyatt there. Wyatt was always just doing his style of thing. You know what I mean? Like he was not like the mainstream trick guy, but you could put
yeah,
Wyatt at 15. Like
yeah,
that, Wyatt's crazy. It still is. Um, so yeah, like that's where I think like best player structure is. It gets muddy the last 3 years, but
yeah.
because there's no right answer. Like you knew Leah was
No,
better than everybody.
yeah,
You knew Nick was better than everybody in 2018. Like you knew
yeah.
that. So yeah.
So I think that in terms of the new gen style, late flips, juggles, taps,
Hmm.
um, just 10 flips, and then instas, like that kind of hit the kendama world in what, like 2016. I think when me and Nick were talking about it, it was Bryson that, like, if you look at back at KWC tricks, I think in 2016 is when it changed.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I would agree with that. Yeah,
so
Bryson was a big pusher of that. Bryson, yeah.
but in 2015, what kind of, it was kind of new gens, right? Like the beginning of new gen. Like what was Fish
Yeah,
and what were you doing?
it was the beginning of New Gen. If you watch Jake Fisher's Edit 4, I think it came out in early 2015. I have to double check, but like Fish was doing some things that like no one else was doing. So I'm gonna look it up real quick just so I can be accurate. I would say like 2015 was when like classical it wasn't getting crazy. Like people weren't doing like stupid shit, like crazy shit like that point. You know what I mean? It was like still
Yeah.
pretty simple. You're just doing
And
maybe a
what
slightly different
instas?
variation.
Yeah.
There was instas. We were doing instas. Like instas have been a part of like insta like lighthouse flips and stuff like that. Like have been a part of Kendama since 2000 like 14, in my
Okay.
opinion. Not at a high level, not like across the board, but like if you walk at some of our old CTK edits, most people on the team were
But maybe like
doing
Insta
some
juggles, like a juggle, Insta Lighthouse juggle, like maybe that's the newer
yeah
new gen.
stuff like that. Yeah, I would say. But then 2016 is where it all changed.
Yeah.
Um, that's my opinion.
That's
2016.
when what,
Bryson was the big pusher of that.
like a line of taps and late flips, maybe. Like in terms of concepts, like I wonder what started in 2016, you know?
Yeah, I don't. I guess I can't really put my finger on it. But I feel like that's when things started to get really rowdy, and I feel like people were, like I said, people was like Lee, like Bryson, and people like Lee had just kind of built on like these instant kind of flip lines and these like
Yeah.
just rowdy juggle lines, um, and just really kind of like you know just kind of like blew them up. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that kind of changed the way that we. That's when things like started to get impossible. Was like I
Yeah.
feel like 2016 where like people started to just like a lot of people started to get really good. And like in like 2012 to 15, like there was not like a crazy amount of people to me that like were super super good.
Yeah.
And then like once like Bryson and Leah started to take hold of things, and I think people just and then like the Japanese like scene got reinvigorated, right? Like they
Yeah.
weren't when we were going to Cup in 2015, like there wasn't a Japanese player that had a chance to win that event, right?
Yeah.
And then like I think that they got re-inspired in some way, shape, or form. I'm not really sure how.
Yeah.
Um, but then they started to come on, and then the Japanese, like the Japanese players are like they're like the best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're across the board consistently. Like I'll see a Japanese player randomly that I don't follow that has like 900 followers. I'm like, that trick's impossible for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
they really have a lot of credit for pushing the new gen style. People like Nobunori, So Canada,
Mm.
Bryson, and I think those people really pushed it
Yeah.
to make Kanama crazy with all the juggles and instas and all that stuff. Now we're
Yeah.
doing goons. Everyone's doing goons and pinches and
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's always been trends.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I feel like to put like a description on it, I want to say that Liad almost started juggling more. I feel like Bryson was still holding on to that old and you especially too, like you're doing new gen, you're doing late flips and taps, but you're not doing like a juggle in between each concept, like
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah,
sound
exactly.
right? And then Leah, because he started later and maybe inspiration from Dwesty, he did more like a solid line, but there's juggles in between each concept.
Yeah, I mean that sounds right to me. I can't I
Yeah.
can't argue with that. I think that I mean also Leah got so good so fast. He was one of those natural kids who just
Yeah.
was like just kind of popped up and was like, yeah, I've been playing a year and 4 months,
Yeah.
and I'm doing stuff that no one can do. And
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons why he was better than everybody is because he was doing those things in crazier ways than
Yeah.
anyone else was doing previously. I put Bryson there because Bryson was just he still is, dude. If you play now with Bryson right now, he's
Yeah.
still just so crazy. The dude's a natural talent. I love that guy. Yeah, that guy's insane. Bryson is good. He Bryson Lee deserves his flowers. That's all I'm gonna say. I think
Yeah.
that he got really good. He was like, and here's the thing about Bryson too is that he was good way before the Cup run.
Mm,
Like before Cup in 2016, he was fucked forever. He was just in Hawaii. He couldn't go
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Like we were watching his tricks, and like I knew about Bryson Lee. We all did way before that event. Like some
Yeah.
people think like that put him on the map, and like to us, it was like nah. Like we before we went there, we knew he was gonna win,
Yeah.
right? And that's hard to do because usually you get to the event and you're like, oh, this person's really dialed in, but like we knew he was gonna win that event before he got there.
Yeah.
He was crazy.
Yeah. In terms of your tricks, the most proud tricks that you have, but also that was the tricks that were the most impressive. Like, you say 2015 was in terms of like your progression and also the economic community, you were on
Yeah,
top or close to the top. But like,
yeah,
obviously, I've seen tricks and edits from you way after 2015, where you were
yeah,
doing the craziest shit, especially like, that new gen
yeah.
Ken flip stuff. What made you go
I
into that
appreciate that.
route?
Yeah,
Like what
yeah.
made,
Like
yeah,
one of my best years was 2017, 2018. I was doing
Mm,
some crazy shit back then.
yeah.
After I gotten over, like, in 16, when like I told you, like I didn't really play Kendama for almost a year.
Wow.
Um, so like that's why like there was that slip. Like to me,
Yeah.
there wouldn't have been a slip like
Yeah.
as much. Maybe like I wasn't gonna fuck with Leah and shit back then, but like I had to stop playing,
Yeah.
right? Or I felt like I had to for
Yeah.
personal reasons. And I was still kind of posting clips, but like you could see me like check my pulse and shit and some of my stuff. Like I was a tweak. So I didn't really play in
Yeah.
16. A lot of people don't know that. And then I got over that, and then I was playing a lot in 17 and 18 with Elijah Onishi,
Mm,
a lot. And like my some of my best tricks I ever landed were in that period of time was in
yeah.
2017 and 18. And so for me, like what pushed me to do that was just falling back in love with it. Like
Mm,
I was able to have a buddy to play with. I was feeling comfortable with my health again, and like I was just feeling inspired. And I for a while in a bit there, I was trying to post 10 tricks a month to Instagram, and I hit that quota for many months. I was like my goal.
wow.
So if you go back in 17 and 18, you'll see that I had more tricks than in like quantity wise, I had more tricks than I ever had before.
Gotcha.
I had the free time too. Like I wasn't really trying to like do anything crazy with my personal career stuff. So like I
Yeah.
had time. I was working part time, doing a little bit of school, living at home with my dad. Didn't really have bills, so I could really like I could
Yeah.
push it again. And so
Make
like
it
that's
big.
what
Yeah.
yeah, so I just fell back in love with it. And
Yeah.
so that was a time when I was doing some really good tricks.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you saying that because, I feel like um sometimes people like because you people take breaks, right?
Mm,
Sometimes people take breaks. You look at Bosch, right? Took a long break,
right.
right? Bosch is at the top.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when he kind of tapered off. But like now Bosch is back in full form.
Yeah.
Like if
For
you
like
look
a
at
while.
Bosch's,
Yeah.
yeah, like a long time, right? And like now you look at Bosch's stuff, shout out Bosch, man, you're fucked, bro. Um, he's just he's doing shit again. That's
Yeah.
like crazy shit, like tricks that are super, super fucking hard.
Yeah.
And like I love to see stuff like that. Like a lot of
Um,
players will go through their ups and downs, and sometimes they circle back and sometimes they don't. But you
yeah.
know, I've always tried to be someone in it. And in 2018 and 17 with Elijah Onishi, like he was just my motivator. Like we were
Mm,
playing all the time. He was down to meet up with me at night, and film at night and just kind of play whenever we needed to play. And like Elijah is good, dude. Like Elijah Onishi is good, dude. Like
yeah. Like, uh, well, what's his nickname? Is it Onishi?
yeah,
I've
we
always
call him
said his name.
She.
She.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how you say it. His last name is Onishi. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, like, me getting into community hard like 2017, 2018, because I started in 2015.
Yeah,
I feel like most players are probably like this, where he's kind of like more low key, but not right now, because I think
yeah.
with 365, I'm sure he's like getting a lot of recognition, but he's been in and out of posting. But I was one of the
He
guys where
he has.
like I had an OG friend, Ezra, who was like, "Oh, I can't believe you don't follow She," because he was like really good, and so I was
Yeah,
kind of late
yeah.
to him, but like, yeah, he's unique because the tricks that he's doing doesn't really seem to catch up to like the amount of people that know him,
I agree. Sorry, I'm
right?
still trying to find this fucking Jake Fisher video. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. Elijah's been that dude who's been low key at times. He's also stopped playing for a while in
Yeah,
in spurts, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We can
yeah,
find it real
Jake
quick.
Fisher. Yeah, Jake Fisher 2015 is when his edit 4 came out. I could say you could put Jake Fisher at 15 for that year too if you wanted to. Anyway, I
Yeah,
just had to get that off my chest. I
yeah,
find to make sure that was the correct time frame. Yeah, Elijah's been one of those dudes that like it's just not slept on. It's not the right word, but to like he's just been like kind of a low key guy, and it's because he like he used to like just move in spurts and waves. Like he's been
yeah,
playing as long as me
yeah,
almost,
yeah,
like and he was on COTK for a while.
yeah.
And one of the reasons why we kicked him off the team was because he stopped playing. And so like
Mm,
he would just do kind of this. And for the past like year and a half or so, he's been really consistently on
yeah,
and pushing. And yeah, he's just like a special player. He's very technical. He gets obsessed. Like he will
yeah,
do things that like I play with probably Elijah, probably the most
yeah,
Kendama wise, even compared to Chris. Chris is closer to me, but like I play with Elijah a lot right now, and
yeah,
he just gets obsessed. Like he's
yeah.
like crazy about like a trick, and he gets really into it, and he gets amazing at it, and then he finds something else. Like he's not
That's
the kind of
cool.
person that's like going to be doing a bunch of different tricks. Like he gets in it,
Yeah,
and so then he gets really good at stuff. And so like he's really in love with stilts, and like he really likes trays, and he likes tight houses and lean house and those kind of things. Like he
Yeah.
gets really
Oh, his
into it. And like,
tightrope was fucked, dude. His
yeah,
tightrope is
that's what I'm saying.
insane.
Like, yeah, that was like week 2.5 of him obsessing. Like he'll do like. And here's the thing about that guy that's so impressive to me is that like he's down to sit there for like 4 hours a day and fuck that up
Just
for
miss,
4 hours
miss,
and
miss.
just mess it up and it hurts your
Yeah.
wrist and and to me like those tricks have always been really hard to like those single point tricks
Yeah.
that are like one thing,
Oh,
one really
dude.
tech maneuver, and there's no other part. Like he can sit there and do that, and he'll do
Yeah.
it for 4 hours every day
Yeah.
until he can do it. And so when people see that, it's like that kid, he puts in that time, to
Yeah.
get to that point. And that's why when you try to do his trick, you can't even get close.
No,
Like you're just like, oh,
yeah.
I can't even get close to it. Yeah.
That I love the way that you put that single point type of trick because that's kind of a different way of playing. I want to almost say OG,
Yeah.
with the new gen style, like you're gonna be doing the triple Ken flip, late triple Ken flip over and over again, and you just might miss the spike. But like I think
Right.
Ben Harold, that type of stuff too, where it's just like
Totally.
one point, there's not a long line, like compared to
Yeah.
Bonds' lines too. Those are almost opposite styles of Kendama. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely on the latter of like those longer lines because there are tricks that like I want to like one single point, but they are just so frustrating. Like you just miss over and over and over again, and you just give
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, no, for me, I've always had a really hard time with those kind of tricks. Like I can't do it. Like something in my brain is like, dude, this is because so when you don't see like for me, like my tricks usually tend to be some kind of line, right? Like you were
Yeah,
saying. So there's like a point that I've landed something,
yeah,
right? So my brain is like, if I'm just missing,
yeah,
if I there's nothing I can grab onto, like if I'm just missing like over and
yeah,
over and there's no point of progress in the
yeah.
trick that I'm grinding, I get really frustrated and like
Right.
I don't have a good time. Like and so that's why I've always had a lot of respect for people like that. And you're right, Ben Harold is been, the perfect example of that. Like just
Yeah.
one piece trick. And like, like earlier we were talking about best players and like I feel like or at time frames, and I'm gonna look up when
French kiss.
his French case came out. It's up to 17.
Yeah, I
I think
think
it's probably
17 or
17.
18.
I mean, you gotta put, just for you gotta put Ben up there in that conversation too.
Of
Like
course, there's other players. I think
he
Dylan too,
yeah,
right?
he Dylan
Westmoreland?
more I don't think
No.
so. I mean, like I love Dylan. I think Dylan's incredible, but like
Yeah.
no, Dylan's insane. But I think that because of the innovation that Ben was doing, just like what
Mhm.
he was accomplishing, like the 2019 Fringe case. I mean, Fringe case at the time when it came out to me was the best video Konami I'd ever seen,
Yeah.
trick wise. And like Ben was aware of it. We were aware of it. Like I
Yeah.
watched it at the premiere. He premiered at NACO, and um, just what he brought in creativity and like actually taking the time to really think about what he wanted to land and do it and structure in a way. No one is more methodical than that dude in
No. Yeah.
Kendama. Still,
Yeah.
still, like he's a student of the game. He really knows what the fuck he's talking about. And it's funny because the tricks that we're kind of trending now, he started those tricks in 2019 and people weren't even aware of that.
No. I
Like the
know.
people don't
Yeah.
know. Like the tricks
No.
that you're doing now, Ben Harold did that. Like
Yeah.
Ben Harold did that shit. So 2019, you can almost say that Ben was the best player. And
Yeah.
Dylan too, in a way you
Yeah.
can put him up there, but Ben was doing things that no one else was and that no one else had thought of.
Yeah.
And things that were also hard. Right. So when you talk about innovation and it's one thing to innovate, I think, and there's another thing to innovate something really difficult. And he brought
Yeah.
new trick concepts to the game. Ben
Yeah.
is one of the most impactful players ever. So I just want to make sure that like, if Ben ever sees this or he watches it, like we see that, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that a lot. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of went on a tangent, but I had to give him his flowers. It's crazy.
Um, so I think, part of being the best player and a legendary player is staying with concepts, or not staying with them, but like when a new concept comes in to make sure you learn it and get on top of it. But I feel like that's
Mhm.
you, right? Because you started in 2012, but then I think people to describe Nick Stodd as a Konami player, it's a new gen conversation, like with late Ken flips and stuff. That's your style. Would you describe that about
Yeah, that's my
yourself, like your
style.
style of Kendama?
No, I would. I think that when it comes to like all the new tricks that come out, like I'm not really as interested in learning those for myself.
Yeah,
And I think they're cool. I'm not sitting here hating. I think they're fantastic. For me, like I like to kind of do what, makes me happy. But yeah, I'm a late 10 foot kid. I
Yeah.
guess. It's usually in everything that I do. Um, it wasn't a huge part of my game when I started though. Like I
Right.
was mostly doing like lunars and houses. I was doing some spacewalks too. Inward lunar and lunars are my favorite trick. Like that's my favorite trick.
Yeah.
Period. Always has been. And lighthouses and stuff. But yeah, like I transitioned to a lot of like 10 flips. I can't seem to stop doing them.
So what was your transition like in 2014, 2015 when that stuff kind of started coming out and then you got really good at it really quickly?
As far as like 10 flips go?
Yeah. Like that new style.
Yeah, yeah, that new style. I feel like the new style for me really hit like in
Okay.
17-ish for me, maybe. Like I was still doing that stuff in 15, but like I feel like the Ken flip part of my game really excelled in 2017.
Mm,
And that's where I feel like I really implemented that into my game a lot.
yeah.
And then from that point forward.
What were some of your best tricks, 17, 18 in that style? Can you think of a few?
Of Ken flips,
Or just like
let
your
me
most proud
think.
tricks
Oh,
ever?
and that most proud tricks. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like so I maybe I should go back, but I did
Yeah.
6 inward still flip. I
Okay.
did 5.5 turn, like swing 5.5 turns still, 5 still flip. And I did
Okay.
6 still. I did that the same day. Like I did those in the
Yeah.
same day. I was really proud of those. I did this, I think I did 4 quad stilt flips in a row.
Hey, real quick, why don't I share
Like
my screen and we hit your profile?
yeah.
Is that cool? And then you can just kind of go through it with me.
Do you have it on yours? Because I'm on my
Yeah.
iPad. I should not logged in. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
And then there was a Ken flip line of me and I did a bird, Ken flip, like Ken flip, Ken flip, back to
Yeah.
bird in
Micah shit.
2017. I was really
Yeah.
hyped on that one. Yeah, really hyped on that. Yeah.
It's loading. I'm make sure I can share this. Yeah, okay. Uh, all right, let's scroll back. It was kind of slow for some reason, so if this
Yeah.
doesn't load well, then we just will scratch it, but it'd be cool to go back.
No, it's fine. Let's do it. Yeah, it's fun. No, I think it's cool. I think so too.
20, where are we right now?
Yeah.
2019?
So we're right now in 2020. This is 2019. We're gonna keep going down to
A lot
yeah,
of
keep
photos of you,
going.
man.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. A lot of photos. It's funny. I can't remember last time I posted a photo. That's funny. Yeah, here we go. I think, yeah, so click on some of this. Is this 18? This looks like 18.
This bad boy? Or let's start in the beginning, maybe. Not the beginning, but like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, it's funny to look back
So
at it. I don't go through my page like this. It's cool.
this is 17
This
then?
this looks like 16.
Okay.
And this looks like I think we're about to hit 17. Yeah, so in the red, like when I'm in the red here, like this is 17, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't have the date on it, but yeah, so this was one of them. I was really hyped on this at the time. It was a quad still flip 4 times in a row.
Damn,
Um,
dude. Yeah, Nick is so inspired by you, you know. I already knew that, but I mean the 5-5, right? Like
yeah, like I still sort of like one of my favorite tricks. Yeah, that's why in Malaysia. Yeah, that
dude, is
was good.
this
And then
is
if you
this
go,
like real beef or is this Bonds just fucking with you?
no better way to ruin the nastiest clip I've ever seen in my life than a Missy Yank after. That's just him fucking with me. Bonds is
Okay.
one of my absolute
Oh
bestest of
yeah. Oh
friends.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, he was just being a goon. And then this one right here, this one I was really stoked on. Um,
2, 3. Fuck yeah, dude.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that
I was hyped on that. I think that was yeah, this is 17 for sure. That was nasty. And then as we go up,
yeah, you tell
um,
me when to click.
this one right here in front of this building, this architecture building in the black in the middle, yeah, that one. I was fucking pumped on this trick. Let's take a look. I think it has a lot of taps and ken flips in it. Yeah, see, it has like taps and ken
Yeah.
flips. Yeah, and I think this was I think this was a sandwich, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, those long ass lines, dude. You're just like, oh, it's the
Yeah, dude, I
best.
was hyped on this one. This one was really gnarly at the time. Yeah, it was a sandwich. Yeah, that was just like a classic, just like that trick took me a while.
Oh,
Yeah, I was multiple film sessions. That wasn't like, oh, I popped up on that day. Like that one took a lot of time because it was the same thing times three. Um, I think
hey, by
that
the
was,
way, we gotta stop
yeah.
sharing and hit this real quick. One of my favorite fucking Kendama videos that me and my brother watch it all the time because it just captures that moment of back in the day,
Yeah.
you versus Bonds and Ken.
Yeah, it's fun.
There was
Yeah.
like a competitive energy. There was like these fans around that are just like mind blown. And it
Yeah.
comes down to like, games of Ken are usually pretty casual, but
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Yeah, it wasn't
this
like
felt
that.
more than that, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was more than that, I guess.
So
I
what,
think
yeah, like, yeah, what was that like?
I was I'm trying to, think about it, and like I remember like we both really wanted to win, right? Like I wanted to win. And like usually when you play Ken, like it's weird, right? Because like that's why I love Van Jam so much, because it's not a real competition.
Mm,
Like it's when you have a format like that, it's not like a real you can't really quantify that in the same way as other competitions, right? But what the fun thing is about that event is that the first couple rounds you're really chill and comfortable.
yeah.
Like you're opening up and you're just playing Ken, and then you win a couple, and then you get to like the last two rounds, and suddenly it's like really competitive,
I
right?
didn't
It's not
realize
as
that this
it's
is for the competition. This is okay. So maybe that's what people are
yeah.
watching. I thought this was just a 10 game that was out
No,
of
it
the
was like
comp.
it was a
Okay.
comp. It was a bracket. So that's what
Okay.
Van Jam is every year. Is they do a 10 bracket, which is really cool. And this was the final match of like the
Oh,
comp,
okay. All right.
and so that's why it wasn't like a oh they were just playing Ken
I
to
thought
play
that's what it
Ken.
was.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no, yeah, it was actual like competition, and so
Okay.
like that's why it was as heady as it was.
Yeah.
Bonds and I love to play at Ken with Bonds because we're usually trying to see who can do the nastiest one trick. Like we don't ever finish the game,
Yeah.
right? Like when we play casually, it's usually just like who can land like a really cool trick, and that's kind of the way it ends up going.
Yeah.
So when I play Ken with Bonds, it's never like that. Like it's never competitive. But just because of the way that competition is structured, it gets heady, and it was like raining too a little bit, and it was
Yeah.
like it was fun. Yeah, it was a good event.
So with
But
that, so you guys wanted to win a lot, not only to win the competition, but was there this inner desire to show who was the best at that time?
so this is in 17, right?
Yeah.
And maybe. I mean, I'm trying to think about it, but it's like
I mean, this is, I guess
I didn't. Yeah, I
17,
mean,
Liad
maybe
was,
who was the better player, maybe, but like Bonds is just so crazy,
yeah.
and like that wasn't my peak of anything, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But like
Yeah.
we definitely both really wanted to win that. And
Yeah.
like obviously with like top players, there always is competitiveness, like
Yeah.
with me and Bonds or Wyatt and Bonds or Bonds and Nick, and all that stuff. Like there's always that like undertone of like, you know, you don't like here's the thing about Bonds, super humble dude. Like he is not, he's really
Yeah.
humble.
Yeah.
Dude's a killer though. Like the
Yeah.
dude hates to lose. You don't
Yeah.
win that many Kendama events without fucking trying and
Yeah.
without being a killer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so as much as Bonds is to portray that because he doesn't, but like he's a winner. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like he is, I mean that's why you could say he's the GOAT. It's like and like for me, like I wanted to beat him in that moment. I was like
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
people know that like I was not going to lose because like in competition format, you're always going to bet on Bonds over Nick Stodd, right? And
Mm.
that's makes sense, obviously. Like he's a
Yeah.
much better competitor. I've never been very good at it, right? But when it comes to Ken and stuff that I can do when I have control over what I want to do, like I wanted to display that I could win in that situation. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think we're going to
so
see a
it's cool.
resurgence of Bonds?
No,
No.
no, I don't. That doesn't say that like when you say resurgence, like be the best competitor in the world again. No, but Bonds is still so naturally amazing at Kendama. Like you go play with
Yeah.
him now, like if you play with him in person, he's nasty as fuck. Like he's incredible. He has that,
So unique.
that gift
Yeah.
to be fully special.
I mean,
Um,
he's not one of those players that like I feel like if he gave it his all in a comp, he is able to like just not hit the new gen shit. Don't worry about late flips and taps and juggles. But if he just fucking hits a crazy ass stall line with no juggles, he's gonna go so far in a comp.
like freestyle.
Yeah,
Oh, freestyle. I mean, it's possible. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's different. Open now. I don't know if he's down to put in the work because you have to practice now. Like Bonds
yeah.
was so good that he didn't practice and he would just win
Okay,
events,
yeah.
right? And so
That's
that's
Alex
what allowed
Mitchell
him
now
to.
too. Alex doesn't practice that much. Yeah,
I
but you
don't know
told
if
me
I
at
believe
battle, it's
he
just the
doesn't
day.
practice that much. But what I mean by Bonds is that Bonds doesn't know the fucking tricks until he pulls them.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
And like Mitchell knows what the tricks are, and he
yeah,
knows that he can do them.
yeah,
But a lot of times back then, Bonds didn't know what the tricks were, like
yeah,
at all.
yeah.
He was just so well
That's
rounded and
so
so skilled that
crazy.
he could really make it happen. And Bonds has never premeditated a freestyle line in his life. He just goes up there
Yeah,
and feels it. So yeah, freestyle he could definitely do really well.
yeah,
But when it comes to open, it's just a different game now. And
yeah.
unless he's down to like sit there and practice the tricks and like
y-
learn them, I mean,
Right.
if you look at EKC clips tricks right this year, like a trick in there is like from spike, double
Yeah,
10 foot, late double 10 foot.
yeah.
Like unless you practice that shit, you're not going to hit that in the comp,
Right.
right? For open division.
Yeah,
I think that Bonds could win another big freestyle event. I do believe that.
yeah.
I
I
think
would
I
love
don't
that
think
would
he's
be
going to win.
amazing. That'd be
It
so
would. I don't
cool.
think he'll win catch and flow, but he could win anything else
Yeah, I
for a
think he
freestyle.
still has that style, and that uniqueness of how he plays, and then all the skills that he has built up.
Yeah, no one plays Kendama like him. There's
No,
nobody that has a style like him. He's his own thing, and because of that and his swagger, I mean, he's the best freestyle player ever.
yeah,
Without a doubt. I think he won catch and flow like 3 or 4 times or something.
yeah,
3 times he just won catch and flow. The reason why I say he can't do it now is because those kids are just so cracked over there. It's not even. I mean, you watched it this year, right?
yeah,
So like,
yeah,
I just think that he could win in most other formats. He could still definitely pull out a W in freestyle, just not in open unless you're gonna practice. That's my
yeah.
thought.
Let's go back to the profile. I want to hit yeah, just maybe get it closer to more new gen. Like, you see anything that you
More new gen. Let's see. More new gen.
just clips that stand out
Look
to
how
you? Like,
short the strings are. It's crazy.
yeah,
Like you can look at them, they're just so short. I mean, like if you go to this one here, like a stop on the left hand side, I'm wearing like green. Yeah, that one there. It should be a Ken flip line. Yeah, I mean, like I was always doing Ken flips and taps and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Okay.
So like,
Oh, that's stump
oh, and
fast, man.
that was a stump pass. Nice. I don't remember doing that. That was cool. There's a trick in here though that I want to show you because I was really proud of it. Hold on, go up a little bit. Okay, stop. So in the checkered shirt, to the left, in the
Yeah.
middle, that one, district.
Oh yeah,
So
it's so sick.
that was two typhoons. It was late typhoon inward, and like that's why my face
Oh
was crazy. And like that trick didn't get the recognition I thought it would have, but it's filmed terribly. It's in like Caleb's
yeah,
like apartment complex, like park. You know what I mean? And like
yeah,
that trick was that trick was fucked to me. Like double inward late typhoon, late typhoon, fast hand. Like that to me was like Elliot Patterson Dama. This is kind of unbelievable. Yeah, that dude knows what's up. But yeah, that one was one that I was like very proud of. That I feel like that's like one of the sleeper tricks on my feed at the time.
it's
And then as
interesting
we
to
go up
see.
here,
It's cool to see which ones stand the test of time. If you posted
so
this
this one,
now, it would be just as crazy.
yeah, it'd still be pretty. And then go down a little bit actually. So yeah, you see the one on the left? I'm in the sweater. It's maroon-ish
Mhm.
down here. Yeah, like I think I like this clip a lot too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember this clip. Triple, triple. Yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like
Oh,
that.
so nice, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, man. I
there's
appreciate it.
late trip tens to spike. Like that
Yeah,
early,
a lot of fun.
right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, it was
that's
a good
what.
trick. And then like in these brick wall tricks, like in the black, like these are the ones I did in the same day, but I posted them on different days. So this
Gotcha.
is the 6 inward stilt flip.
Wow.
I want to do 8 inward stilt flip pretty
Oh
soon.
yeah.
And then the one down here, down below it, in the brick also
Okay, right
below.
here.
In the middle.
Middle one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. This one I was super pumped on. Look how short the string is. It's like 5 flip,
Yeah.
and then 5 flip back to it.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I was really pumped on that one. Elijah was there. Like Elijah, that's what I'm saying. Elijah was with me all the time. Like he was
That's
in this
cool.
footage. And then there's one more still trick. I was doing a lot of stilts. Fuck. There's one more still trick that I need to show you that I was just so hyped on. It might be lower. Yeah, keep going slowly. Keep going down, I think. Okay, right there in the middle. Right. This one. This is regular stilt Quint backflip. And like back then I was just like, that
No
was the hardest trick
way.
that was the hardest trick I had ever done at the time. At any given time, that was the hardest flip I
I can
had
imagine, dude. I
ever
can't like.
done. Yeah, that was insane.
I
Yeah, that
feel like the
was
last
that was
time
my
I
best
saw
trick.
something like this would be like Kendama Jacob doing a tray backflip where it was just so crazy. But this is,
Yeah,
dude, that
yeah, like
is
that one
that
for
is
me, like
sick.
they, I was the first one to hit that trick. And so I was really, really proud of that one. That was like a big deal for me.
Are these newbies or is this a new thing? Like back in the day of licking the tama? Or are these just casuals for 277
They
BTU?
might be casuals, but yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I can't remember when we started looking. I know it wasn't always there, but uh,
Yeah.
that's possible. Yeah, I mean, maybe it wasn't a thing.
I feel like another good aspect of your style is maybe it's the camera following the Ken too, but I want to say I feel like you originated those high tama tosses and your arm is extended and you're hitting Ken flips. You know, like
Yeah,
that's such a Stodd style of like whether it's a yeah, I mean usually it is probably like a late, but obviously, late trip too.
yeah.
But
Oh
like
yeah, I'm a hucker. If that's what I
yeah,
mean. Like yeah, I
yeah,
flip. Like that's like a thing about my style is that I huck shit. Like I huck flips. I flip fast, flip high. I can go really high. Like
yeah,
that's like if you were to sum up my style, especially even now too, it's still like that. Like I can flip. I go high. Like that's the thing
yeah,
too. Like I've always been into like I've been always been fascinated by like how many rotations can you flip something. So like
yeah,
I've always done that for as long as I can remember. Like, how many still flips can I do? How
yeah,
many inward still flips can I do? How many lighthouse flips can I do? Like all those things. So that's a big part of my game to this day. Like when I was doing, 8 inward lunar flip, like how many times can I flip this without it touching
yeah,
my fucking finger when I rip it up? You
yeah.
know, that's still part of my game.
I gotta say, Lead's probably inspired from that because Lead, dude, when I go back and watch Lead clips, which I do way too often, but
Yeah,
I
he's
I
really
go
good.
out and I play higher when I see him his clips, and I imagine he
Yeah,
got that from you because, with his 2017 2018 Instagram run, it was just like it, it made it look so easy, dude. And I think
yeah. He made everything look easy. In
yeah,
person too. If you watch him play in person, it was easy. Like that was the crazy part.
that
Like I
was
think when I saw him at Cup, I like purposely made sure I could not be around to play Ken with him
yeah.
because he was so good. It's like the only
So
player that I've been like, I don't even want to play Ken with you, bro. Like I don't want to get shit on right now. Like this is
yeah.
you're crazy. Yeah,
Zach
it's fun.
mentioned that because I think every interview I talk about Lead, so people understand my obsession with this kid. But
No, I get it. Trust me, I understand.
yeah, he was just the best. He was just the most influential. Like it just his style of playing. It's kind of like Bonds, where he just looks at makes it look so easy, and you go out and you
Right,
play differently after you watch Lead. You know,
right. Yeah, and you can't do it. You go out,
and
you
you can't do
try,
it.
and you
Yeah,
try to,
you're
and
like,
you
how does
can't
he
do
like
it.
the quad tap? It just looks so simple. You know.
Yeah, he really puts the taps really hard. You're like, okay, well, yeah, that
So
kid, yeah,
Zach had a funny moment in our interview when he mentioned playing 10, exactly what you just mentioned. Like,
Mhm.
Pup comes, Liad's there, everyone sees his tricks, and then you can see him in person. He ended up getting third. And then he just
Yeah,
completely stomped Zach. He's like Zach was just like it was just embarrassing. But so
yeah.
what was the entrance like for this little kid from Israel just walking in and then like everyone peeking? What was that like?
One of the biggest indicators, I felt like for a great player is like when you're playing kendama and people stop what they're doing and they watch you, right? And
Yeah.
you have a crowd of people just at an event. Um, Bonds has been able to do that. Shredwin can do that.
Edwin
Shredwin
did that
has that
right at
ability.
NIKO.
Yeah,
That
or
big
and
crowd
people
of
just
him.
watch. Yeah, people just will watch Edwin play. Like he's a special talent, right? So, um, if you look at players that can like really just like you'll be like walking and you're like, oh, and then the people just like watch you play. Like Leah was doing that World Cup,
Yeah.
like all the time. People would just stop what they were doing and watch him, and just see, you could because he could do it in person. Like some players can't do some of the things that they do online and their tricks in person, but that dude could do it, right? And
Yeah.
I imagine Takuya's the same way. I've never seen him play, but I imagine he can do shit in person that you're just like, what the fuck? Nick went to catch and flow last year and was like, the dude's just on a different tier
Yeah.
of like what you can do. And I imagine it's similar to that. But, you know, as far as Leah goes, like back then, it was like the dude could just do stuff that no one else could do, and he could do it in front of you, and he could do it again. He could do it
Yeah.
two back to back.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's what I'm saying. Like he, that like Zach's story about getting spanked in 10 is like I believe it because Leo was a player that made me realize that I no longer was there anymore.
Mm,
Like he was the player to me that I was like, oh, I'm not there anymore.
yeah.
You know, and that's how good that kid was.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a humble kid. He wasn't particularly likable. Um,
What
but
do you mean by that? Just his demeanor?
yeah. I guarantee, like, I'm not shitting on his personality. Like he's a good dude. I'm not saying he's not, but like,
Yeah.
there's humble players and there's not humble players, and he's not a humble one. Like the
Yeah.
Gallagher's have always been humble. Bond's been humble.
Dude,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
humble
Gallagher's are
kids.
so humble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like people know though.
Yeah.
Like Nick still knows he's better than all you guys. Like
Yeah.
like, all of us. He knows it.
Yeah.
He's just not the kind of dude who's gonna say it or come across that way when you play with him.
Right.
Right.
He'll take it easy on you versus,
Oh, he won't
Leah.
take it easy. I mean, he won't take it easy
But
on
he
you, but like
won't,
it's not.
he
He
won't
doesn't have
like,
he doesn't have an arrogance in his demeanor,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's hard to put that into words because I also will have an arrogance. I've had arrogance in my demeanor. I know it.
Yeah.
Of like I'm better than you. I'm going to do this or whatever. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not proud of that, but I know that's something that I've done before, and like I could see. That's why I could see it. And like
Yeah.
Leon, I was like, oh, this guy's got it.
He has it.
He's got that. Like he just knows that he's better than you.
Sounds
And
like Nick said.
you can't
Takuya's
say
like that.
anything. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I was talking to you, like he just knows he's better, and like, yeah, like if you're that good, you're able to do that. Like that's okay. Like you can be a little bit of a cocky fuck if you're Liat or Takuya, where you're just like you are that good.
Who's been cocky
So
that you feel like didn't deserve it?
cocky that didn't deserve it. Shelling was always a little bit of a prick.
Really?
Yeah. When he started, he knows this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelling was always a little bit of a prick.
Mikey showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He was around. I mean, was he Northwest around you, or was he somewhere around
He was
Utah?
he was in Idaho.
Okay.
He was in Idaho, yeah. So he was,
I
he's
mean, he
kind of
did
close.
get third in KWC
Oh, he was incredible. He didn't. I say he didn't deserve it, but he was kind of a prick in ways.
over.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's the thing about not everyone's really nice and cool. Like there's not a lot of people.
Like that. Yeah.
Not a lot of people kind of like that. But Shelling to me was one of those people that like he wasn't with me, but when I watched him play with other people and have with this demeanor, like he definitely was.
It was
He was cocky, and he handed his shit. Like he was handing his stuff, right, for a long time.
Yeah.
And that was like, and he did it during his KWC run, I think, at one point. But he handed stuff, and he did stuff clean, but he also handed shit.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the player that I was like, well, maybe it's also because I didn't really fuck with him.
Yeah.
Like he was a huge fanboy of mine.
Oh,
right?
really?
Like he looked up to me hard, more so than anybody I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And he was always a kid to me. He was like a little grommy, right? He's super talented, really good, a little bit grommy, but he was handing his shit. And back then, like it's still like that. Like we don't fuck people that hand the tricks. It's not something that would
call them out, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're just not cool with it. Like Drew Sanger hands his tricks.
Yeah.
Or used to. I mean, he actually handed his most recent trick, but I mean, I shouldn't say that. You might have to cut that part out.
Okay, that's
where it's like it's about Sanger, but like people that like Sanger has handed tricks before.
Yeah,
Drew Sanger,
okay.
and stuff like that. And I'm not saying he's one of those cocky people because I like Drew a lot. Drew's a homie, right? I like him, but tricks have been handed, and so for me, like that's one of the things where I'm like, I'm not cool with
most people are. I mean, I feel like it's not one of those things where anyone is like, oh, it's okay. Like it's either you miss it or you have a problem with it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the way I feel. So but yeah, Shelling's the only one I could think.
Handing is different than using a good paint or licking a bevel. It's there's never going to be
it's not
right. Yeah.
And I think, by the way, now I think about the person that introduced me to licking the bevel was Wyatt. Like I wasn't doing that before I saw Wyatt do it. I didn't see anyone do that before Wyatt did. I don't know if that's the case. Like that's probably been a thing for a while, but Wyatt was the dude that was like, he's like, dude, you got to lick it. I was like, what? And like that's what I realized that was him.
What was string length like was that a big thing? That was a issue?
It was a big thing. Leah was the first one to really do the stream crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was the one that was doing the stream crazy shit. And it was
Did you
one of
look
the things he'd
down?
be like, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a
then you
little
get a
bit.
Punisher.
Yeah, I mean, we all did. It's one of those things like the paint shit. We're like,
Yeah.
it's cheater.
And
And then
then
you're
you
like,
get one, and you're like,
well,
oh fuck it, yeah.
and I was like, crap. Like that's what, yeah, we did. And now this thing is as long as it needs to be.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, Leah was the first one who was like, this dude had a long string,
yeah,
like a long one. And obviously it matters. You can just, there's more distance. And that's why he was going so high, like you were talking about, is because his string was so long that he could do all those flips,
yeah.
and get it to where it needed to be. And now, like, I rock a long string. We
You're
all do.
10,
Except
12,
for,
or
I don't know, man. Like this is standard, and it's more than
yeah,
that.
12,
Like
14.
so.
Yeah.
So, like, let's see if this is. Oh no, this is like a stock trailer, so this is too long. But like, this is what I'm playing with right now, and this is comfortable. So it's 12,
I think we got the
13.
same. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's about the same. That's where I'm at. You know who doesn't use a long string though is Edwin. Edwin does not.
Yeah, so sick.
He uses like a pretty fucking short string. It's crazy.
So you guys picked up Edwin, which is
Yeah.
ginormous.
Huge for us.
How do you
Massive.
describe Edwin playing style and him as a
Yeah.
person? Yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing about Edwin is that Edwin is from Oregon. Edwin lives in Oregon. And he lives in Southern Oregon over in Medford,
Yeah.
Ashland area. He grew up playing with Joshua Grove,
Yeah.
right? Because that's where he was from as well. So Edwin was this kid, he's young still, he's like only 19, and he's been playing a long time, right?
Yeah.
And Edwin was like the Southern Oregon prodigy.
Yeah.
And he was the one that was just obsessed.
Yeah.
And he was good, but like he wasn't naturally insane. Edwin was not one of those players that like came out of the cut. Like his is very organic. Like his rise is from playing all the time and being fucking obsessed.
Yeah.
And yeah, just pushing and having a desire. Like Edwin wants to be the best player in the world, and he will get there.
Yeah.
Like he's done this. And so what I'm trying to say is that me and Chris knew about Edwin forever. I mean, because like we went to do, we'd see him, we'd come up to Portland every once in a while, do an event or whatever. We went down to do like a road Dama event, I think 2019 or something like that. And like, like we were aware of Edwin, right? And Edwin was someone that we liked as a person. He's a homie. He's just a kid. He's like, he's a shredder, dude. He's just a homie, right? So like we love him.
Yeah.
And then he got on prom, and then he just he like got big because he's fucked, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I'll say about that kid is that he's played more hours of Kendama than me by like 4,000 hours.
Wow.
And to put that in perspective, like he's over, because I thought about it and I try to guesstimate like where I was at. I think he's like almost like he's at 14,500 hours of playing.
You think so?
That's what he told me. And then you go like, that's not possible. And then you think about it, and it's like that basically means you've been playing like 7-8 hours a day.
For how long?
But for the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Edwin is that I think he's been playing like 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
8 years. I think he's been 8 or 9, something like that. I think he's like 8 years. I don't know actually. I gotta hit him up. I don't really know. But and then you go like, that's not possible. I know Edwin personally.
Yeah.
Gone to know him. No one in the world plays more Kendama than him.
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody does. I'm not saying he's the greatest player in the world as of now, but no one plays more than him. I know that for a fact. Like seriously sits down and plays. Like people like Takuya, I'm sure play a lot, but like Edwin has structured his life in a way to where he plays more Kendama than anyone else I know. He wears like specific hokas. He does stretches. He does physical therapy. He puts his body into position to play constantly.
Yeah.
Right. Like he eats pretty healthy too. Like he gets up early. You know what I mean? Like he has planned everything in his life to maximize the amount of time he can play Kendama at a high level. Yeah. And the dude plays all the time. And you can go watch his, you can't even keep up with it, what he's posting on his page. Yeah. It's just so crazy. The dude is insane. Yeah. His devotion is unparalleled. And like people like Nick can play casually, you know what I mean? But Nick's at work. Like Nick is able to play Kendama, but he's at work and Nick's playing a bunch and stuff. But like, Shredwin is able to like play. Do you think
he'll pass Nick eventually?
I don't.
No.
I mean that's hard to say. Shreddy, I believe in you. Can still watch this, but Nick has not slowed down the amount of time that he's playing Kendama. And if you can't like Nick, no, Sheva knows Nick's a king. Like
Yeah.
Nick is king. Like
You think he's number
and
one right now?
uh, n- it's hard to say. I'll say this though. I'll finish this thought and then I'll get to that because
Yeah,
that's like a
yeah,
separate little thing. I feel like, but as far as Nick and Edwin goes, if Nick is able to play the amount of Kendama that he's able to play now, Edwin will not catch him.
yeah,
Nick plays a bunch, dude. Nick's
yeah,
playing all the time.
yeah,
And like the thing about Nick is that's different from other players is Nick any trick trend that comes out, he learns how to do it. Like
mm,
he wants to do the most amount of things possible. There's no more well-rounded player in the world than Nick
yeah,
overall, as far as like what's in his trick bag, because he learns it.
yeah,
Um, like he learned everything. Like
yeah,
he can do stuff and across the board that like it's hard to believe how well-rounded he is.
yeah.
The best player in the world is Tiblex.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. I think I know so. And the reason
Yeah,
I say that is because and I'm not the biggest Tiblex like fan in the world. Like I just
yeah,
respect his game so much. Tiblex to me is the best player in the world. And I say that because Tiblex can also do anything that he wants. And I'm not
yeah,
saying that Takuya can't. Tiblex can do anything that he wants. If you go look at his page, dude, if you go down it,
yeah,
he's got everything on there. He's
yeah.
got stilts, he's got Kemputs, he's got Lunars, he's got all the tabs you could ever want to do.
Borders.
He's
Yeah,
just as good at tabs as the Takuya is. Or not
yeah.
really, but probably because
No,
like he did
yeah,
50
yeah,
first and then it was like, I'm good.
yeah,
Like I'm done.
yeah,
You know? Which was just savage. He was like, I got 50, I don't give a shit anymore. And he
yeah,
could do more. Like he could get 64 and beat 62. There's no
yeah,
doubt
yeah,
you know. Um, I haven't seen him play in person, so I don't really know that. But he's striking.
yeah.
I'll think I'll play with him at EKC. I think we both will. I think he's going to be there.
I
That's
don't
what I've
know.
been told.
I heard recently that his dad doesn't want him to go.
Yeah, it's that's going to be his downfall. I don't know what his personal life is like, but he's not able to go to anything. He's never been to an event, and I don't know what that's about. Does he live in Latvia or does he live in?
Romania.
I think he does. Romania.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um.
Wait,
I
is it
so
Romania? What is he? Yeah,
he's.
I think he's
I think
Romania.
it's. I think you're correct.
Yeah,
Um. I think it's Docu because I'm not sorry. I think it's Tiblex because I've seen him do everything, and
yeah,
he's done it at a high level. And like
yeah.
I think that Takuya could do whatever he wants, but he hasn't displayed that in all ways,
Right.
right? And I think that if he was to make that effort, like he could probably do everything. But I'm talking about
Yeah.
what I've seen on tricks and like versatility and whole bag of tricks wise. Tiblex has done more.
I don't think I've seen
Um,
Takia do a um late goon, you know? And that's kind of, is that what your argument is? Like you I don't
I
you
think that I think he has it in him to do whatever he wants, but I haven't seen it. And I've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
Tiblex do every trick I
Everything.
could possibly imagine. And I've seen Nick do everything that I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Right. No one's better at what Takuya does. Like no one's better than those tricks than him. And like if you wanted to say that like Takuya is better, like I totally respect that. This is my opinion. I just think that Tib can do shit easily, and he can do a
Yeah.
lot of shit easily. And I hope to get to see him play in person. I know that that's a bummer if he can't go. I was actually
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing him play. He's never going to be able to rise to full prominence until he's able to move around a little bit,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that's one thing that Nick's always been able to do is been able to get places and win stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I think, by the way, I want to say this: Takuya got robbed at Catch and Flow, and I'm still
Oh,
salty about it.
yeah.
Like I'm
Nick
mad
brought that
about it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pissed about it. Like it still bothers me
Yeah.
because like yeah, I can't believe that dude lost in his round. I forgot. I think he was it
Yeah.
Shino that
It
got
was
him.
Shino. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not right. It was totally the wrong call. I'm not saying Shino didn't kill. Obviously, he won the event. He was insane. But no, like I think Takuya spanked him. Like I don't even think it was close. And then like you look at it, and I rewatched it. Because you watch it in the moment, and then you rewatch it again. Hold on. I was supposed to meet June, but we've run a little bit longer, which I just got
Yeah.
to text him
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah. We can get
There's
off
no hurry,
whenever.
by the way. No, you're
All right.
good. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, anyway, so I think Takuya had that event. And I don't know, like World Cup's gonna be interesting this year. To
Yeah.
see like I don't see anyone beating Takuya in the World
You
Cup.
don't think your
Maybe
buddy Nick is gonna beat him?
no.
Did you hear my interview with Nick about how hard he's gonna go?
I know that he's going to go very hard.
But you don't think he's gonna beat him?
No.
Dude, I think that's gonna push Nick. He's gonna want to make
I hope
his
so. I
style
hope
fighter
so.
happy.
I hope so. I think that I didn't watch the full interview with Nick. Did he talk about it?
Yeah, he said that. So. Nick talks about Takia's cockiness and was like, I need to kind of put him in his place. Obviously, Nick wouldn't say those words, but
No, I think that's what it is. And like Nick, here's the thing, like I'll say this though. If I had to bet money right now, I'd put in on Takuya. No one has won KWC twice in the full way it's supposed to be done, right? It's never been done.
right.
People have come close, right? We've had Lucas get second and second. We've had
Yeah,
Bryson get first and second.
yeah,
So Canada first and second. I think there's a two-time winner now, but it's online, right?
yeah.
I think
Takia,
Takuya won once online, once in person,
yes, yes,
right? To me, that's not the same as doing it back to back in person. What I have seen though is that he did it in person easily. I mean, he creamed everybody there, right? Not
yeah,
everyone was able to go last year, right?
yeah,
Nick is now there. I think that a motivated Nick is the scariest competitor in the world.
yeah,
So like if he and I know he's gonna go for it, he will definitely get second, right? Like I have no doubt at least second if
yeah,
Nick is in the right headspace because I just think that he has it in him, and I believe he could do it. If I
yeah.
had to bet money,
He
I put
could,
money on. I
yeah,
think he could do it, but like now that's a different game now. Like now you got to hit 2,200 points to win that event,
yeah.
right? And when you think about it from a run perspective of like, okay, well, I mean, what happened this past year? Taki got like 21 something, and then
Yeah.
like,
The
and then
next was like
So killed it,
13
got
or
like 4,
14.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
13 or 14, right? So then you're like, okay, well, you got to hit 2,000 handedly,
Yeah.
and as hard as Nick's gonna go, that kid Taki is probably gonna go almost as hard, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure like, okay, who can hit a 2,200 point run? That's the marker that
Yeah.
I think you need to hit at least 2,000, and you have to be able to do it in 1 3-minute round,
Yeah.
and it's gonna take rising to the moment in a special way to be able to do that. And I haven't seen Takuya get nervous yet. I haven't
Yeah.
seen really Nick get nervous. I've seen Nick fuck up though.
Yeah.
But in a comp that I've watched online, I've not seen Takuya get nervous. And if you're
Yeah.
not getting nervous, then it's just then you're
He's sort of
taking out.
risen every time, Takia. I mean, I don't think he won in 2020, right? Yasu beat him, right?
Yasu got him on a nasty 2,100 point run. Like
Yeah.
Yasu just fucking shredded a
Yeah.
run that was just insane.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things, man. I think you got to hit 2,200 points to have a shot.
Yeah.
And I know that Nick is going to go hard, and that's a cool idea. And it will be the greatest competition achievement if Nick can win. I'll say
Yeah.
that Nick will have silenced. To me, Nick is the greatest player that's ever lived by far.
Yeah.
Overall, totality of career wise, comps, tricks, whatever you want. I think Nick is there. But you won't be able to say anything about Nick if he wins this year at Cup.
Yeah.
You won't be
Yeah.
able to say anything. You'll have no argument.
They're number
Nick will
one
have,
currently now too. Of course, it would be
yeah,
him.
to win in 2018, take a 5-year gap and win the World Cup. By the way, is the hardest event ever. Like there is no event that's harder to win. It's
Yeah.
not Catch and Flow. It's not NACO Open. It's World Cup. World Cup is a different breed of competition. That's the reason why no one's properly won it twice. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Takuya can't. I think he can, but it is the hardest event. And to be able to win in 2018, take 5 years after all the craziness that has happened and come back and get that event win, that will be the greatest crowning achievement any Canal player's ever had, comp-wise. And so I hope he can do it.
Yeah.
And Nick is one of my very best as a friend, so is Zach. We talk all the time. I hope he can do it, but he's just got to beat a monster. And I've never seen Takuya slip. I haven't seen him slip, so it's hard for me to say otherwise.
What was like the rise of Nick? Because you've known him for a while, and I know you guys have been friends for a while.
Nick is my favorite player right now. That's just a fan, right?
Yeah.
Zach is up there too,
right?
Very close. Nick, Zach, and I are extremely close. I'm not close to it. Like, if I wasn't friends with Chris and some of my Portland friends, like Nick and Zach are my next best of friends, right? So I'm a little bit biased, and we have been since 2017. Like we've been really close friends for a long time. Those kids are hilarious, by the way. Super,
Yeah.
super funny kids. So thing about Nick, man, is that he started in January of the same year that I did. He's been playing a little bit longer than
A
me,
month
right?
longer, huh? I didn't know
A
that.
month longer. Yeah. So him and Zach have been playing a month longer than me. Um,
How'd you
and
get
it
him?
started when
How'd
they
you get him like a year or 2 years in? You were way, way better than him, huh?
Oh yeah, Nick, that's the thing. It's a funny thing. It's like with a lot of these transcendently great players, it's kind of like right away, really
Yeah.
good. Nick and Zach weren't like that. Like they were great, they were good, they were good, they were really good. Zach won NACO 2015.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All this stuff. Like they were great competitors, and like, but like I don't know what happened to Nick. But I think I think it was about like end of 2015 is when Nick really started to just go. And I think the trick that made me realize that he was probably the best was when he did inward stilt, like late triple Ken flip back to inward stilt.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And once he was doing stuff like that, I just feel like it started to just kind of go from there.
yeah.
And then like 2018 was just, and it was leading up to that year, like
Yeah.
2017, right? Where like I don't know like what happened is that Zach knows this too, is like Nick just started to gap Zach. Like they were
Yeah.
comparable up until about 2016, 15, 16, as far as skill goes.
I think when I talked to Zach, it was like Zach started playing Fortnite, which is super funny. That Fortnite was like the reason for the gap. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't, but it was. And
Yeah. He
then
started to play games.
Nick, yeah, and building. But and then Nick, Zach realized every time he was playing Fortnite, I think he said this in an interview, he realized at some point, like a month in, that Nick was in the other room playing like four
Yeah.
hours a day. And
Yeah.
I think there was motivation behind Nick of maybe a loss or a win. And then that just pushed him into 2018 year, which is his kind of famous year of like, right, sweeping everything, like winning everything.
Yeah. Dominance. I don't think he lost.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think, yeah, he did. Yeah, I think that's what I was told too, is that like he started to play more than Zach.
Yeah.
That's where the gap hit. And
Yeah.
that he just started to go. Like he just
Yeah.
started to push and he was seeing progress. And leading up to like I think 18 was like I played with Nick and Zach for years. They was in Seattle. Like I played with them off and on over the years at different
Right.
events. And I think it was 18. I played with Nick at some point. I was like, fuck, dude. I was like, this dude. And like I was still crazy at 18. Like I was
Yeah.
like still doing shit at 18, in 2018. And like Nick was the only player besides Leah, but even more so when it happened. Like Nick was like, I can't fuck with this dude at all. This dude is way, way, way better than me.
Leah?
2018, I knew that. I think like Leah, when I saw him in a cup at 16, I think is what it was, or maybe it was, I can't
I think
remember
it
what
was
year I saw Leah,
17.
but yeah, 17. Like I was like, oh, this guy's crazy, But like Leah didn't have the whole bag of tricks,
Right,
right?
right.
Nick at 18 had the whole bag of
Oh, I
tricks.
see.
Like
Okay.
we'd play Ken, and like I I haven't been able to stand up Nick and Ken since 2018. And like
Yeah.
I saw it in 18, and I was like, I can't fuck with anything this dude is doing. I
Yeah.
can't do the stalls. And the annoying part about playing Ken with this dude is that you'll do a trick that's really hard for you and you're stoked on it, and he'll match it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he'll start his first trick will be like a bird trick that's impossible. He can do wings, he
Mm,
can do stalls, he'll go into Ken flip. He can Ken flip faster than me. He's a better Ken flipper than I can. He can
yeah.
do all the slinger tricks you'd ever want to do. He can
Yeah.
stilt better than me. Everything I can't do a single trick better than Nick besides inward lunar flips. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I can do better than Nick, and he could probably get better than me at that in like a day. So
Yeah.
ever since 2018, I was just like, this is the best player. Like this
Yeah.
is the best player in the world. There's no one that can mess with him. And you can look at his tricks throughout that whole year, and you can look at his comp wins, and he just did everything. And he never slowed down. Like after
No.
18, like 19, he was just as good, as better than everybody still. A couple players started to come up a little bit. Pandemic hit. Nick has never slowed down, right? And he's
Yeah.
not slowing down now at all.
No, no. I mean,
Like
he's
Nick is
playing
on
all
a
the time
different.
now.
He's just like a different player than
Yeah.
anyone I've been able to play with on a consistent basis. And it was funny because I was used to being better than Nick. And then I played with him and I was like, I'm not better than you at all anymore. It was
Yeah.
weird. It was very polarizing. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I remember just being like, well, I can't do this with this
Yeah.
kid. Like he's just so much above anything that like it's cool. It's like it's a humbling experience because like like I'm like, oh, I know I'm good, like I'm one of
Yeah,
the best players in the world, it's just my mentality. And then you play with someone that's just so much better than you, you're like,
yeah,
I gotta go practice, or like I gotta not
yeah,
talk my shit up, like he's
yeah.
just so much better.
No, I mean,
So
there's a thing where like I mean, I think every kind of player has this, but like even me recently, it's a wave of feeling really confident and good, and you're impressed with
yeah,
yourself, and you're really progressing, and then externally something happens where you see one of your friends, or you see a player, or whatever, or going back to old posts, like your old post, or whatever, and I just was like, whoa, like, you go back down, and you're like, shit, like
yeah,
I'm not where I thought I was, or whatever. And it's
yeah,
just a cycling of that kind of stuff,
yeah.
and
I mean, yeah, totally.
that's
Like that's
every
how I
player's
feel all
experience,
the
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's how I feel all the time now. I mean, like I've had to realize that like my worth as a player is like I've had to transition the way I think about myself as a player, and because like I'm not close to being the best player at all
yeah,
anymore. For a while I
yeah,
was, right? So then you're like used to it, you figure it, and then like now you're like, oh, I'm not. And like
yeah,
at first I was like struggling with it. I was like,
yeah.
I was upset about it, if I'm being honest. And then I realized that like that's not why you do this. You don't play Kendama to be the best player,
I
Stodd. You
bet
play
you
because
that
you
the a huge reason that a thing that retires most great Kendama players is the falling off, where
it is.
and it's so amazing that you've kind of gone through that, right? And not that you fell off, but you went from being the top to like not being the top. And you look
Yeah.
at these best players who don't seem to play or post as much. Bryson Lee, for example, um,
Yeah.
where it's like I bet you that dude, I can't believe that identity and that challenge of just like not being there anymore as you once were is so tough. It's like, sure, it's hard
Yeah.
to, yeah. But yeah, what was that
It is
transition?
hard.
You were going through that. Sorry, interrupting you, but like, what was that
No,
transition
you're
like?
good. It was much more difficult than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
It made me not want to play it as much,
yeah,
Kendama. And it was like, and I had to figure out my life, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do outside of Kendama. I was like, Kendama's not making me any money. I gotta like be an adult, like
yeah,
I have to build some kind of future, be stable, and all this stuff. And it uninspired me for a bit, and then I think back because I realized wasn't when I played Nick in 18 that I realized I wasn't the best. I knew it back in 16,
yeah,
right? And so I had to figure out like, like do I want to just hop out of
yeah.
this and not do it? And I was like, no, I love it. And so I was like, nah, you
Wow.
just gotta find a different reason to play. So I was like, I'm just gonna try to. I was like, people like my tricks, man. I have people that like people like to see my tricks, regardless if I'm doing the best tricks in the world. At the time people still like to see them, and like I love to do it. So then like I don't like this is a toy. This is a fun thing. It's what it's all supposed to be is fun,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And I had to get over that. It took some time, and once I did, it's been good. Like
mm,
it's there's this understanding of like I do tricks that are hard for me,
mm,
and things that I'm stoked on. And I love Konama right now as much as probably I ever have. I don't play as much as I used to because I have work to do and stuff like that. But there's definitely that love for it, and that's like why we do it is because we care about it. And if I'm not even close to being the best player in the world, I'm still gonna post tricks and have fun and be a part of the community.
yeah,
And that's the way it should be.
yeah,
Um, and I'm just really grateful that like there's such a good group of people in this whole thing to like make it so like you don't need to be good at
yeah,
Kendama to be a part of Kendama. That's not a
right,
requirement and never will be. It shouldn't
yeah,
be,
no,
right? Um, and as someone who grew into adulthood, through this toy, like I started as a kid, you turn into a different person, right? Because you've
yeah,
been doing it for so long, and a lot of that is maturity and like coming up on the other side and being like, all right, well, you're not the best 17-year-old player in the world anymore. Like
yeah,
that's okay. And
yeah,
that's fine. And you can still love it and you can still be productive and be a part of the community and push the people around you to get better and promote it and build it and try to make Nama a bigger thing than what it is. And so
yeah,
that's the route that, we decided to go with.
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I think that's a good place to end it. We could talk for hours and hours, obviously, but
Yeah,
we
probably.
hit,
But hold
yeah.
on. Do you
We
ask
were,
each player the top 10?
what'd you say?
Do you ask each person we interviewed like, about the top 10 players?
No, I don't do it like on purpose, but I end up doing it anyway. Yeah, why?
Yeah. I just want to like make
List.
a little bit of a well, no, that's just like some players that I like. So like
Okay,
I
okay,
just want to
yeah.
give like a shout out to a few players because I feel like sometimes we're not able to like get across from that. And if I forget anybody, it's like
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
I guess
Go
I don't.
for it.
And I don't do like top 10 most skilled players, but people I love to watch.
Yeah,
I think that Jay Dama from Kusa
yeah,
is just crushing face right now. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like just putting out some stuff. I don't know, he's thrown out some just like some shit recently where the past like couple months he's just been really pushing. Much love to him. I want to talk about, Shredwin and his progression and dedication to the game. I
yeah,
think Johnny Kress is doing something absurdly special right now. I think that Johnny Kress out of Seattle is just fucking
yeah. So
ripping. And
cool.
I would say that like I would say Johnny Kress right now is like maybe the fourth or fifth best player in the world right now.
You think so?
I mean, he had the best 28 days out of everybody, without a doubt.
Yeah,
He posts tricks at his jam where he's just doing shit that like not many other people can do, man.
crazy.
And he's only getting better. Like if you go like when people like we were talking about who's the fourth best player,
Yeah,
right? When people were kind of talking about that, it was like, we know who the three are.
yeah,
I think if you don't put Crest in that conversation, you're tripping right now.
yeah.
Like he's doing shit trick wise that
Like the
that
amount of
the
Ken flips
word
is exactly your style, right? Eight,
well, like the
eight
amount of
different
Ken flips, but
lines,
also
like
like he can do kind of a lot, man. He can like he's doing a lot of he's doing taps in high quantity, he's doing fast hands at a higher level than anyone else right now. His fast hand game is stupid, right? And
yeah,
so like he's just doing things that are like you just got to sit down and like think about it. And I've been telling people for the past couple months like Cress is on some shit right now, and
yeah,
like Nick and Zach know it, and Zach's playing with him, and like he's still going. Like Cress is one of those
yeah,
freaks who's been playing forever, but he's fucking going, man.
yeah.
And so I just want to give a shout out to him. Shout out to Ben Harold for all the innovation he's put into this, so we can all have tricks to do and
To
build
do.
on.
Yeah,
Nick and Zach both. I think Zach right now is I mean, I should I say while I was talking about Johnny, I mean Zach is there.
yeah,
Zach is better. You know what I mean? Like Zach
yeah,
is, and Zach is like in this like I mean like Zach is like the dude to beat in the US. Like
yeah,
competitor wise, like Zach
yeah,
is that dude right now.
yeah. It was just crazy, like
I think Chris June right now is pushing innovation really hard and doing some really unique and creative things.
mm,
And like, yeah, I'm biased with him, but I think that June is doing an excellent job of like continuing to play and continuing to love the toy and like doing unique and fun stuff that other people are just haven't really been doing, just
yeah,
like fun, creative stalls and lunar combinations. And June's bringing some really strong creative technical stuff to the game right now. Nick, as always, is just an ambassador of excellence. Takuya is
yeah.
crazy. Tiblex is wild. Um,
Micah?
have you talked to Micah? You talked to Micah, right?
Yeah,
Micah is crazy.
yeah. Tricks wise?
Micah does not follow any Kendama players.
No. Oh, really?
And you go look at he follows 18 people. Something like that.
Oh,
Or like 25 people.
oh yeah.
And
He has a
I don't
unique
know.
presence, right? In this scene.
I mean, it's like for me, like, so I'm gonna check here. He's following 28 players, right?
Am I one of them? I have no idea. Better be.
Probably not. No, let me check.
God damn it, Micah.
No, you are. You are.
Oh,
You are.
let's go.
And so
Dope.
for me, that's the indicator of how do you love everything about the community if you're gonna follow 28 people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a game where it's like you're just following people that are really good or that are popular. I'm not really sure what it is. People
Yeah.
maybe you just like, but now it's about everybody, bro.
I think
Throwing
it's
support
good.
down
I
and
think he probably
following.
follows the best 28 best players. I'm not, just because I'm one of them, but no, I'm checking.
I mean, maybe that's what it is, but I'd like
No,
to see a little bit more love thrown around.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
supporting. That it sounds like weird. All you'd only follow. It's like do you support and like comment and help build the scene up a little bit. Like I'd like to see more of that from him.
Yeah.
You know,
I can
I
imagine
like to
that
see a
more
little bit more
outward
community
love.
support.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see more of that. We live in
Yeah.
Hawaii. You're far out there. Like I'd like to see a little bit more support all the way around. But he is insane.
Yeah, yeah. I
There's
mean,
no disputing that
tricks
he's
wise,
insane,
right?
and
Like,
he has a very strong dedication to getting. He puts in the time. I respect that.
yeah,
He'll grind a trick for X amount of hours until he gets it, and his tricks are never been done before. And he's
yeah,
an absurd talent. He's super crazy. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll definitely say that. So those are just kind of my favorite players off the rip right now.
Cool, man.
And I just want to give them a little bit of love. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything you do. Not only
You too, man. You too. I appreciate
inspiring
you.
people with tricks, but also 365. It's super sick, the designs and the shape. And it's so cool that there's two OGs that are still really good, still in love with the game, making a Kendama company. Like it's awesome for Kendama.
I appreciate that, man. And that means a lot. And we're trying our best, and I appreciate your brand a lot too. I think you have a really good team.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
think that you care about the community a lot. I know
Yeah.
you do. You're a really good player. And the feeling is very mutual.
I
And you're
appreciate that.
doing this podcast, and it's all fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So I think that there's a space in the future for like brands like ourselves to really be a prominent factor. I think
Yeah,
right now, like, like, I mean, your brand's a lot bigger than mine, you know what I mean? And,
yeah,
but like, as far as like that small middle, like we're talking about
yeah,
companies that are like below Soul kind of thing,
yeah.
a little bit below
There's
brain theory as
spaces
far
where
as
we could
popular.
jump in, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of room to build and,
Yeah,
and go forward with that. So I'm very excited about the future of Kendama as a whole. I think that there is a lot to be done, and it's a cool space to where like good players are down to be on companies that are smaller,
yeah,
and you have a really good team, and you're not a huge company, you're big, you're prominent and
yeah,
large, but like, and you're much bigger than my brand, but like people like Shrevin going to my team, you having a team with Franta and Marcus and all these great dudes,
yeah,
right? It's cool, and I love to see it.
yeah,
It's kind of like you talk about basketball.
yeah,
You got people like that, like want to go play in a big market, and like
yeah,
that's all cool. But right now, non-players are down to be treated well by
yeah,
a smaller brand that have a lot of emphasis put on them, and it gives us a chance against some of these bigger brands, and I think it's cool to see, and I'm glad that we're trying to push that forward and provide a good
yeah.
spot for our players and stuff. So
And honestly, not
yeah,
to toot our own horns, but us as competitors for money in markets, like Kendama community is so cool because we're able to just automatically talk, uh, go talk nerdy stuff about Kendama the last few years and
right,
just be nice to each other and friendly and not have any
of course.
competitive stuff. Like it's super cool. It's amazing, honestly. Good.
It
Yeah.
is, and it's not like that in any other industry that I've ever seen. And
No,
I
dude.
don't take it for
No.
granted. And it's cool the amount of collaboration that there is between brands. And I'm excited for the future of it. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be really cool. Yeah,
Well, I'll
we
see
got a
you at
lot of good stuff in
UKC,
store.
right?
You will, yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
there.
All right.
I mean, we're bringing Elijah, Edwin, June, myself. We're gonna be there. It's gonna be fun. You guys are a big sponsor too. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
really good time. That's what I'm saying. Like, we got this, man. Let's keep
Yeah.
pushing.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Yeah, thanks for the time, bro. You have a good one. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Deb. See you.
All right, see ya.